Pandora's box is about to open wide.
Joe and Hen have come to the show. 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 Bring tales of death and glory. Joe and Hen have come to the show. Joe and Hen have come to the show. Joe and Hen have come to the show. Joe and Hen have come to the show.
Yeah, cheers guys. Nice to have you on.
Nice.
Thanks for having us on.
So welcome to Pandora's Box, everyone. We have got some special guests in the studio this evening, and we go way back with you guys, really, because we went to school together. It's Joe and Hen from the very successful Somerset band Shoot the Moon. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Nice one, man. Cheers.
Yeah,
Mate, nice. It's our pleasure to have you guys on.
It's our pleasure to be here. We're big fans, as you well know.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening, guys. I said it's just cool that you guys all listen and that, and appreciate it.
True friends of the pod on the pod.
Yeah,
yeah, man.
True friends of the pod. I think you guys are like the first, like true friends of the pod on the pod, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
We're big listeners, aren't we?
We are. Yeah. Actually, I think you were second on my list of.
Mate, I'll take that.
Yeah. The only guy that beat you guys was Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, if that's only because he's got more content. If you had more, you guys would be top.
Right. This year, man. More content.
More content.
Honestly,
more pods.
I truly believe that.
Yeah.
Cheers, bro.
You guys are my morning routine. You're like part of my morning routine when I walk to work.
Nice,
Always
man.
got the box on.
I like the idea that you wake up in the morning and you don't think of like your missus or your kid or anything. You think,
Pandora's box.
yeah.
Where are my headphones?
Drewster and Bullwinkle.
That's right. In my ears. In my ear holes.
Yeah, no, it's just like cool though, because obviously since school you guys have got a lot of recognition for your band and that. So obviously I really respect that and like look up to you guys for doing so well with your band and everything. So it's cool when you hear people that obviously you respect for their own accolades sort of appreciating stuff that you do as well. It's just cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, we had a big chat at the Cobblestones gig with you guys, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
It was really good because we were all a few beers down, and I was speaking.
Mate, I was a lot of beers down.
A lot of beers down.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of love, toing and froing.
Mate, yeah, no, and that like inspired me and Drew. It really did because obviously we stopped doing the pod for a while. And we were just sort of knocking out Mystery Mondays. And it was not like we decided that we weren't ever going to do it again. But I think we just like needed
do
a
like
break.
special occasion things, weren't we? Like when we get guests on and stuff, rather than trying to do it every week. But
yeah, and we had done it like almost like every week for a year. And it's funny because it's funny how like you perceive things differently in it, but. In my head, I felt like they were going like a little bit stale, but then, you were saying, and I remember at the time, you were saying that you just didn't feel like that was the case.
Never felt that way. Never felt that way.
And that was really cool to hear, like refreshing. It was nice for me to hear that.
Yeah. So didn't want to like get like low on content and stuff of interesting content, but then when you're just having a chat and just kind of shooting the breeze, it doesn't really matter what you're talking about.
Exactly.
It's just the vibe of you just like chatting and stuff. It's like really fun.
Yeah, man.
I guess I've just always thought like I'd rather just like not put out anything at all than bring out something that's just like rubbish, or like that saying like it's better to burn out than fade away a bit. Like,
I would say just never doubt yourself.
Cheers, man.
I honestly think you guys rock it.
Cheers.
Yeah, me and Joe, like, we listen to you, like we said, all the time. We even have little chats.
Fangirl
like,
hard.
We are fangirls. Yeah. The other guys were like, how come we can't come on the pod? And they're just not fangirling. And also, they're not cool enough.
Oh, mate, that's fucking sound that the other guys wanted to come on.
They were like, well, why do you guys get to go on? Like, well, because we're the cool ones.
We know you guys are best.
More microphones.
Yeah. We go back the longest though, don't we? I mean, like I say, I remember you both from school, but obviously I used to speak to you a lot more in school, Joe. I remember because people used to think we were the same guy.
They used to dive on my back and be like, Calum. Like, But obviously, it's because we're obviously stunt doubles. And the same body
It's funny because we don't really look alike now, but at the time we did.
Yeah, we both had long hair. We were tall. And obviously dark from the back.
And like similar build at the time.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But obviously I've filled out since then. Done some lifting and what you've been doing, man. But
yeah, man, hilarious. But
I did.
Yeah, because I remember I met you through Lyle Durant. I was like the main...
That's right, yeah, we used to skate together. And I met Lyle through Toby Gaylor.
Oh, yeah,
you remember Toby?
Oh, yeah, of course.
I got really well with Toby. We've got the same birthday. He's exactly a year younger than me. Yeah.
Yeah. And also you're with Becky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ended up Toby's sister.
All a big happy family.
Look at that. Yeah, it's a small... Well, it is a small world in Bridgewater. Small town. It's a small town.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's like, nowadays it is really growing, but I feel like, if you've been around... If you're an old school British person, you sort of, even if you don't know someone, you probably know someone that knows that person,
100%.
Yeah, man.
So you ever listen to like your mum tell a story? And
too many
so many
times.
branches, isn't there? Like she talk about someone and then she's talking about their family for 10 minutes and then she comes back to the original story. I'm like, how? I don't understand. I don't even know where we are anymore. I don't know what was the original point.
Grandmothers are the worst.
Yeah.
Grandmothers are the worst for that.
But it's because they know everyone.
Yeah.
And they mention someone's name and they go, oh, isn't that someone? And then they talk about someone else and you're like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Lost.
Yeah. What was the original point? I don't know.
Gone.
I don't know what the original point with this was either.
Yeah, man. But I was saying, like, you knew my old Bay Sally a little bit as well, didn't you?
Yeah. So obviously, like that group of people obviously would hang out at Sally's house quite a lot after school and that sort of thing. So yeah, we all knew each other through that, didn't we? But
it's funny because when we were back in school and like we used to talk on that, I didn't even know that you like played music.
Well, I didn't really. I to be honest, I still don't.
Just like
it's a ska band
in
so
a real successful band.
Yeah. But for me, I got to like you choose your options, don't you, when you get to year 10 or whatever? And I was like, well, what's going to be the biggest DOS? so I chose music.
Really?
Ironically, I've ended up as a secondary school teacher. Weirdly,
do you know what? I didn't even know that's what you did.
My career, which is really ironic because I was awful at school. And I do fixtures. Obviously, I'm a PE teacher, so I do fixtures. And I saw Austin Elliott.
Oh yeah,
the rugby guy.
Yeah.
And he still calls me Naughty Joe Warren.
Does he?
He's like, Naughty Joe Warren.
Where did you see him to?
So we do fixtures all the time. So he's still at Hago, still works there.
Oh right.
And then obviously when they come and play our lot.
So where do you work?
So I work at BCA, which used to be Sydenham or East
okay,
School.
Cool.
Yes, I work there.
I'm surprised you didn't try and get a job at Haygrove so you could reminisce.
I don't think they'd employ me.
Are you allowed back?
Too many records.
Yeah. No, I was not particularly well behaved at school, which, like I said, is quite ironic considering.
Yeah, I don't think any of us were really.
No. I don't think we were bad by today's standards. But
it depends. Like naughty, I'd say, like naughty, but
yeah,
nice.
we weren't like genius. We weren't horrible
like
people.
Marmite in
no,
school.
not like bullies or anything like that. But I do remember once Mrs. Seeley bringing me and my mate Jake Harden into. Do you guys remember Jake Harden at all? He's an absolute wild man, like just nut job, in a nice way. But I remember her bringing me and Jake into her office and just absolutely just going on one, just proper screaming at us. You know when you almost like zone out because it's just too much, just so it's like zone out. And I sort of zoned back in at her saying like, Calum, you are officially the 4th naughtiest pupil in your year. And then just there was like a little pause, and then she just turned to Jake and went, and Jake, you're even worse. And I just like, it was just like one of those things like, to be honest, I think we were both a bit blazed at the time. And I think it was like really hard for us just not to burst out laughing.
The thing is, it was never from like a malicious place or anything. It was just everyone was just having a laugh and just I used to love it in school, like because you were surrounded by all your mates and everything. You know, it's like now you've got to like really put some time aside to, unless you're like in a band or something and you get to hang out with gigs.
That's the beauty of it. And I suppose that, like for you guys, that's the beauty of this, isn't it? You're guaranteed to meet up like every week.
Once a week. It's like, and we always have like a bit of a chat, don't we? Like and stuff before like
agony aunt time.
Man.
You know,
before you press play, you're chatting away. Like
that's it.
It's the same with us, isn't it? You know, band practice is probably 30% playing music and 70% talking.
Getting your grief off your shoulders.
So
it's like an agony aunt session. It's really funny, isn't it? But you do need it. Everyone needs that.
Yeah, man.
It's funny as well, isn't it? How like you hold the things that concern you in your head seem almost like really crushing, and then if you talk to a mate about it, suddenly it doesn't seem like anywhere near as much of a big deal. That's one thing that I always think is like mental.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like on
It's
your
just
own.
the thing of just saying it out loud or something, and then just having a chat with it. It's like, oh, actually, yeah.
When you're just dealing stuff with stuff on your own in your head, it seems super intense, doesn't it? And you just think, man, this is like, it's like proper like movie style, movie drama, intense, like weighing you down. You think like, man, this is like just so much. I mean, yeah, speak to your mate about it, and you're like, oh yeah, I feel pretty good now.
Yeah, it's yeah, for sure. It's an old saying, isn't it? Like my dad used to say it a lot. It's a problem shared's a problem halved.
It is true though. It sounds like one of those cliche, like cheesy things, but it is true. It does.
Mate. Yeah. Once you talk about it, you realise actually it's not as big a deal as you think it is.
It can go either way in our band as well. Really,
oh god, yeah.
Oh
like, yeah. I remember one time you were in a pretty dark place, and we just crushed you even harder.
I was there. Just I'd had a really bad day at work. Like I'm not going to get into it now, but it was one of those days where you just wish it had ended. Like way before.
Just your life, mate, not the day.
Yeah, exactly. and then it was band practice that night.
Yeah, you're in a bad way, and I think you made that quite clear. And
you guys were just like pussy.
I'm pretty sure you were like, I feel like I could just end it all right now, and Shark Boy went, nobody would miss you. So yeah, pretty
I think
pretty
I
dark.
ended up just walking out with my head just like...
You did, yeah. We crushed you hard.
You crushed me.
But like it all comes from the nicest place, because actually in reality it wasn't that big a deal.
And we look back on it now and it's very funny.
Yeah,
so.
it's a great story.
I think that's a good thing about like mates though, isn't it? I think especially like guy mates, like, it's just like, we just sort of rag on each other, but it makes life seem a lot less serious.
Yeah.
And even if you're taking it seriously at the time, you're like, guys, what him?
Yeah.
I remember think about it afterwards.
It used to really annoy me in school. Like if I was in a bit of a grump, I remember one day, like when I was, it was like tutor, and like, I had my head down on the desk and that, and you and Josh just came behind me and were like singing "Sad but Drew," like, "Sad but Drew." Just probably like heavy, like, and I'm just like, oh, like
Nice. Yeah.
But come on, if that's not going to cheer you out,
it pulls you out.
That's it,
That's
isn't it?
100%.
That's got to cheer you up, isn't it?
Just brings you back to reality.
Yeah, for sure, man.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to what we were saying, like about in school and that, I think it's almost like, because we were all quite like sociable, weren't we? It's like it obviously that's a good thing, but it makes, when you're a teenager, it's hard enough to concentrate as it is. And then if you like get on with a lot of people, like when I go in class, I didn't think for a minute, I don't think I ever in any class ever went into a class thinking, I wonder what we're going to be learning about today. I'm looking forward to
next to?
Yeah, it would be like, oh, who's in that class? Oh, great, I can just mess about with them.
Yeah.
Well, that's how me and Joe got so close, really, wasn't it? Because we weren't in the same tutor group, but once we got to year 9, they started to mix the tutors together, and then me and Joe ended up in the same sort of science group. We've been crossing swords ever since.
That's actually one of the lyrics in the EP, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's brilliant, man.
Limp. I probably won't say the word. Grow hard together, crossing swords forever.
Ah, nice one.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, and it's like reminiscent of the old days, isn't it?
It's poetic.
Yeah, it's like Kyle Gass and Jack Black, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, you are the new Kyle Gass
JB,
and Jack
right?
Black. Yeah, you're JB. This is Kyle
It's got more weight on you than
I'll take that.
But yeah, like the science thing is one of my favourite stories that I always tell. Not the kids at school, because it's probably the naughtiest thing we've ever done.
What's this? What in science you said? Who was your teacher?
We had a cover teacher, didn't we, for a long time?
Like a Cross or something?
No, it's it might have been
Mrs. Frost. She was on tutor group.
Miss
no,
Cross.
Miss Cross.
Weatherbean,
Weatherbean.
Something like that.
I don't know what her name was.
We never knew her name.
Mrs. Weatherbean.
She was such a lovely lady as well. When we just raised hell all the time. It was
You
really
just
bad.
talking about crushing people, you crushed her, I expect.
Yeah,
But I think she kind of liked us, because we did like her. We did care for her, but I think
You didn't make her cry or anything.
No.
That's
But
what we were like
we
in
made
school.
Mrs. Quick cry, didn't we?
Yeah, not deliberate. Yeah, I think
In
she
science.
liked us, but it was just too
science.
much sometimes. Yeah.
But she was dissecting something, wasn't she, one day, and it was a bit of a bloody mess. And me and Henna's, being the Tom and Jerry characters we are, were like, the gas hoses you get in on Bunsen burners. Yeah, we stuck one of those on one of the taps, like a water tap, and Hen was holding one end, I was holding the other, and it was filling up literally like a cartoon, and it just went. And it like hit everything, and blood went all over everyone, and we were in so much trouble. And I remember getting sent out, and Mr. Seeley, who was the deputy head, just like screaming at us, and Hen does this really gormless face, And he was just getting annihilated.
Can you try and do the face?
I got to try.
It's just like a completely, like you said, zoned out. He wasn't listening to the guy. And he was yelling full bean in Hen's face. And Hen was just like, and I caught a glimpse of him. And you know when you can't laugh, but you have to. And I was gone, I was like, rimming up.
So you just started laughing.
And I just burst out laughing in the guy's face, and he sent me straight to like the head, who was terrifying when
Mr. Ward.
Oh my god,
such a shiny head.
Dude, he threw my planner in the bin, told me to find a new score. I cried. I cried hard.
What, because of that?
Yeah, man. That was from that. Yeah, from that.
Because of my gormless face.
It was your face. It's your fault, man.
Yeah.
Your fault.
So much damage your gormless face can wreak.
But
yeah, man.
Yeah.
But I remember you not getting in much. You were sent back into class. And I was like in the dead's office getting absolutely annihilated.
Yeah.
Just because I'd laughed at your doofus face.
That dead face worked. Just
100%. Not for me though. It killed me.
Killed him. Yeah.
Broke me.
To be fair, I mean, I think I can see why you got so upset. I mean, it's freaky though, isn't it? If the head says that you're going to have to move schools or something.
Oh yeah.
Because for a split second you take him seriously. Like afterwards, in hindsight, you're like, oh, he's just trying to shake you up. But
Dude, the guy was Kobe Bryant, man. I swear the bin was like that far away. He threw my planner literally straight in. He must have done it so many times as well. And he was like,
he'd been practicing for years 100%. For the one time that he could,
and straight up he goes, you won't be needing that anymore because you're going to need to find another school. And I was and that was it, man. I was gone. I was thinking I'm going to die when I get home. My mum will kill me. My mum's an Italian lady, so I was dead meat. So I was like, I'm dead. I'm going to die.
Slapping you.
Well, she would have hit me now with a slipper from here, I reckon. If she wanted to.
No more spaghetti meatball for you.
Exactly.
I think it was at the time you were probably like on your last warning as well.
Fully.
So like, I remember us getting like a few strikes and you're up there. And I think this was like your last strike.
Yeah, I was definitely up there.
So how did you not get?
I grovelled hard.
I
cried and grovelled, and I was like, "I'll do better. I won't do it again." Like,
I think,
but it wasn't our intention. Like to,
no.
We just thought it'd be really funny to blow up this huge thing and water fly over.
It sounds really funny.
It was funny.
It was. Looking back now, it's super funny. Like,
it is funny.
Yeah.
But like when you're a teenage lad as well, you're so busy just doing stuff. You don't think about. Stuff. You're just too busy doing stuff.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, from my point of view now, sorry, Drew, being a teacher. Like, I'm like, I'd kill them if they did that. I'd be the guy yelling at them.
I bet as a PE teacher though, it's fun because I remember. I always used to think that the PE teachers had it easiest because I remember how funny it was in hindsight. If like, say, like Mr. Elliot or something would be like in PE with him, and if you just talk, he'd just be like, run around the pitch. Yeah. And then if you like come back, and if you say like one word, just like run around the pitch again. And I think, mate, it must be so fun just to do that.
Yeah.
Just like
you have a different relationship, I think, as a PE teacher. But then. You do have to obviously follow the same system, but I think because for a lot of like the naughty kids, certainly for me, and probably you probably agree that PE is like a bit of an outlet. You want to just burn off all that crazy energy you got when you're young, and that's part of why you like act like an idiot in class because you're just trying to sit down and concentrate.
Loads of pent up energy that you just want to be doing.
All those hormones and stuff buzzing around your body, and you're just sat there trying to. Keep all that still.
Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of people PE is a very Marmite subject, isn't it? Because a lot of kids hate it.
Yeah.
And then the other half love it. And there doesn't really seem to be that much in between. Like I used to absolutely love it. PE become like I remember like when I first started playing rugby in year 7, I just couldn't believe that like you'd just be like applauded for just running around for 80 minutes just taking people out. Essentially, like if you did that in any other scenario in school, you'd get like told off, but and suddenly you're like a hero. It's like great.
Yeah,
for sure.
That was right up our street as well because we always used to just prat around and fight, didn't we? All the
time.
Man.
Lunchtime.
Yeah, I remember like wrestling you quite a lot at school and stuff, Joe. Yeah,
because we were like the same size, so we were like, well, that's a natural competition. We just fight each other.
Yeah, probably about the same like height and weight probably at the time. Probably about the same. Yeah, so it's just like
we used to scrap all the time. It was great.
Yeah.
I do miss those days. Good times.
Yeah, that's one thing I think is like almost like a shame about being an adult is when you're like a teenager, if someone like one of your mates or just anybody annoys you, you can sort of like go and fight them and it's not too much of a big deal.
No.
But it's just something you don't really do when you're an adult.
Because it's just like it would just escalate.
Yeah, it would.
Really badly. And but it sucks. But it sucks in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I have to be so civilized.
That's why you go judo, man. Do
judo flip!
I think when it's amongst friends, you can get away with it still. Because in the band, like I've had a few moments where I've like slapped one of them really hard in the face as a joke.
Oh, really?
And they've just had enough of it, so they've wrestled me to the floor and just like roughed me up a little bit. You know, you can do it around. You can do it.
Usually after a few drinks.
Yeah, I think it's like the right friend though. Like certain friends, you know, would probably get genuinely upset. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously you don't want to upset your mate too much. It's
I couldn't imagine doing that in DBK, man. Like at our band practice.
No. Different group of friends.
Different bad. Different bad.
Well, I mean, we've been playing literally like, we were in school together and we were fighting in school together, and you know, like it hasn't really changed. The dynamic hasn't changed that much.
That's good. That's good that it hasn't changed. Yeah.
And I think like there's never really been a power dynamic in the band. There's never been like.
That's awesome, man.
It's always just been like 6 or 7 friends just being idiots.
And those that can't handle it.
That's what you want, mate.
Those that can't handle it are out pretty quick, aren't they?
But that's really good because that's checking egos, though, isn't it?
Even our management companies, we've had like 3 or 4 now, and they last a year. They're like, "Screw you guys, we can't handle you."
Because we're just idiots.
We're just idiots.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, but that's beautiful though.
Manage ourselves now, and it's much easier that way.
It is for sure.
I think
it's frustrating at times because like when you're trying to organise things as well, and you've got 6 idiots to try and organise. It becomes like an impossible task, and it can be frustrating. Like we've gone through, like Soul Man was in charge of booking stuff and getting us to places on time, and then he was like, "I've had enough of this, you guys are idiots." And then Hen did it for a while, and he's like, "I've had enough of this, you're idiots." And then I did it for a while, and I was like, "I've had enough of this, you guys are idiots."
So now we just don't play gigs.
So I think Jay's taken it on, but Jay's so like laid back that nothing phases him. So if we're late for stuff, he's like, "Nah, whatever, man. You know, I can't play now." So
I've got an Olympic weight bench downstairs that Jay sold to me.
He hooked you up.
It's just like downstairs, just literally downstairs. Yeah,
he's a good dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah, sound. I'd say I don't know him that well, but he's been super sound. A couple times I've chatted to him.
Nicest guy you'll ever meet. It's just too nice, really.
Hey, I don't think there's any such thing, but I know what you mean. Like, it depends what you mean by that, I guess.
I mean, we take advantage of him, don't we?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like, kind-hearted.
Yeah, like I don't think there should be anything as being too much of a nice guy. But yeah, people like that do tend to get taken advantage of.
He's just really kind-hearted. You know, like he never ever has any malintent in anything he does.
That's lovely, though, isn't it?
Yeah, he's just a really nice guy, really nice dude, and like
naturally funny.
Yeah, like
just like dumb.
Yeah, just you know, like if you could fly on the wall his life, you'd endless entertainment because he's just so stupid.
That's brilliant, man. That's freaking brilliant.
Yeah, in like a sort of blonde, dumb American kind of, don't know, like like Stifler was funny because he was stupid. That's kind of Jay funny, isn't it?
He's beautiful, which helps.
Yeah, he's a real handsome guy, which obviously he's fighting his corner for him.
Pretty boy. Yeah.
Without that, he'd have nothing.
He'd just be lost, mate. Absolutely. You guys wouldn't even let him in the band.
Nah.
He's just like bringing in the ladies.
He's not a bad trumpet player, to be fair to him. I never tell him that, but he's all right.
So like, when did you guys even like start Shoot the Moon then?
School, wasn't it?
Was it actually while you were still in school?
Yeah, going back to science lessons, it was me and Joe just sat next to each other. We should have been listening to like the periodic table or whatever, but we were just like,
designing logos for vans.
That
didn't exist yet.
Yeah, we couldn't play any instruments yet, but we were in a band.
You had a drum set, and you could play bass a little bit though.
Yeah,
and
so you couldn't play. Neither
drums.
of you could play guitars at all.
Not really. No.
Like I said, I only started learning guitar when I was in year 10 because I got into music class.
Yeah,
and Mr. Orme was like, "What instruments does everyone play?" And he got to me, and I was like, "Nothing. I don't play anything." And he was like, "Well, you better learn because you got 2 years to get GCSE." So
you started playing guitar then?
Knuckle down.
So did you get yourself a guitar like to play at home and stuff?
Yeah, I think I bought a crappy.
Was it the vintage, the first one?
No, it might have been, or it might have been like some sort of gold Telecaster copy thing, which I bought off some dude in Taunton who my dad knew. Dad knew everybody. He was like one of those people that guys just knows everybody. Yeah,
I get you a guitar.
Yeah,
it's handy.
And the guy used to play. It was a real nice set. It was quite a basic guitar, but he'd put on really nice pickups.
Oh,
and,
cool.
really
nice.
looked after it.
Customized it.
Yeah, so it was quite a nice guitar in the end. But yeah, just sort of jammed that for a while because I didn't really know how seriously I was going to take it. And then Tom, who came back and joined the band later on, taught me a fair bit of how to play guitar. Ed Butterworth taught me how to play.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Ed actually recorded the first part of one of my tracks for a GCSE because I didn't know how to play. Yeah. He was like, "I'll do the guitar part and you just sing." And I was like, "I don't sing." And he was like, "Well, you're going to have to because otherwise I know it wasn't you." So yeah, he recorded the guitar.
So like it was supposed to be you doing the guitar, but he
was supposed to be playing and singing. Yeah, because I couldn't play it. Dude, it was only like 3 chords and I couldn't even do that. You know, really? I literally had never touched a guitar in my life and I was just like, I don't actually know how to play this thing at all. So I just thought I'll pick that one because it might be
the easiest.
Yeah, and the girls will like me. So
yeah. So like by the end of year 11, could you play a bit then?
Yeah, I got an A.
Yeah,
I managed to get an A in GCSE music, but I mean Tom taught me power chords, which is like
that's all you
the
need.
grail when you're young.
That's all you need,
yeah, like you could play.
Oh, the first like 5 years of your guitaring is pretty much just power chords.
Yeah, and like by the end of year 10, I was nailing out the power chords and writing music.
You could play. Is that when you guys kind of first started like jamming and properly in a band?
What, year 11? So when did you start playing guitar? When did you start playing guitar?
You were playing.
I picked up the bass guitar in like maybe year 8 or 9.
Right.
And I was playing that like in a couple of school bands, doing like Nirvana medleys at the talent show and stuff.
Yeah.
And what inspired? Yeah, exactly.
Do. Classic.
That's like exactly that I ever learned on guitar.
Yeah,
exactly
that. That's like everyone Smoke on the Water, White Stripes.
Yeah, and dude, that's the first thing we played together, isn't it? White Stripes. I played drums and Hen played the bass. Yeah. I was the drummer of the band for like 6 weeks.
Because I remember like Nath Riddler being
I was the singer.
Was that like the first proper singer you guys had?
So that's how it started.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, and then he, at 16, he became a dad. Was he 15 or he was 16, wasn't he?
Something along those lines. 18 maybe.
No, I'm pretty sure he was a bit younger than that because we.
And then like his singing career was over by then, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, he just obviously his priorities changed.
Yeah,
he didn't turn up to anything anymore, and we were just like, well, we
thrown
can't.
In the deep end.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the guys were like, you know all the words, you sing, and I was like, what? And they were like, you wrote them, you sing it. So that's basically how I became a singer. I was pushed by Woody.
Cool, man.
So, but
it suits perfectly though. Do you know what I mean? Like your vocals suit the band perfectly.
I appreciate that. I always worry about my vocals because I spent a lot of years getting rinsed by this lot about.
When it comes down to it, we do tell you that you're good though, because when we have practices or like, you know, at times when you're not there and we're all trying to do your bit, it never sounds as good. So we do need you. Desperately need you.
The lead singer's indispensable.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Sorry, and going back to you then, man. So you were playing bass for a while. So when did you pick up? So did you go straight from? So were you a bass guitarist at first? Were you in the studio?
Yes. So I taught Limo how to play the bass. I was never a bass player in Shoot
right.
I remember.
I forgot that Limo was your bassist.
Yeah. I taught Limo how to play the bass. So then Limo became the bassist.
Right.
Which made me the second guitarist. But I didn't know how to play guitar.
Neither did I. So both guitarists in the band didn't know how to play.
Yeah, right.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So all my guitar riffs were just
Pistols.
like, yeah, exactly, 100%. Yeah.
I love it as well though. Like when you start playing an instrument, like the reason you guys almost did it was like to do band stuff rather than like now I think people will like want to get amazing virtuosos at guitar and then they'll like want to join a band, or maybe they don't even do that, they just play guitar. But when we were in school, because it was like how we all started as well, wasn't it? Like we were going around Nicky C's
we play in his grandmother's garage,
garage and stuff, and it was always like we wanted to do band stuff
on the
before
Mate.
getting good on the
playing
guitar.
in Soulman's garage for years and years, and his neighbours hated it.
Yeah.
And then by the time we got quite good, they were really upset when we like stopped playing in the garage. Yeah, they were like knocking on his door, going, "Why aren't you practicing?"
I bet nowadays they like brag to their mates about it.
Yeah.
But Limo started playing the bass, but we didn't really have a drummer, and we flitted through a couple, didn't we? Like your brother played drums for a little while, for like 2 weeks, and then Ed came and played drums, but he was in another band, and then Nath Draper played drums.
Sorry, Ed who?
Butterworth.
Oh, Ed. Sorry again.
Because he had some rhythm. Like he couldn't play drums really, but he was better than any
He
verse.
just came for a jam.
Yeah. And then Nath Draper was our drummer for a while, and
it rings a bell. Was he in Haygrove?
Yeah, same year as us. Big guy, real nice guy again.
Yeah.
And he was actually a drummer, and he was by far better than any of us.
Right.
And none of us could play really, and he actually could play.
And he
fair
knew
play.
It. He
and
knew
he
it.
knew.
Yeah.
And he was looking around going, what am I doing here?
Who are these guys?
Yeah, these guys suck.
Yeah, and we did.
And I'm good.
Yeah.
And we were like, right, this isn't going to work out. We need someone who sucks equally as hard as we do.
Yeah. Introducing Soul Man.
In came Soul Man as our only friend with a job, because his mum owned a pub. He was sticking up for the skill team, so he had the money in his bank to buy a drum set. He was the only person we knew that would have money to buy drums.
Is that Mark?
No, that's Scott.
Scott, sorry.
So
Scott.
Soul Man, the drummer.
Right.
So he was
Oh,
like...
sorry.
Scotty. Yeah. So
sorry, I didn't realise that is what you call him. Yeah, because obviously I remember him from back in school.
Yeah,
obviously.
Scott, yeah. So his name is Scott Owen Lewington, which is Soul. So we just call him Soul.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
he had the money basically to buy a drum set. Didn't he? So we were like, dude, just buy drums. We need a drummer, so just buy drums, and it doesn't matter.
So
if
he
you
couldn't
can't
play drums
no,
at all.
No,
I still
love
can.
that.
Mate, your band's like story is hilarious.
Yeah,
it doesn't even sound real.
No,
It doesn't make
none
sense,
of us could play.
No.
Like,
considering how successful you guys have become.
But like, if someone who actually plays an instrument, like Drew would watch my guitar technique and be like, "That's horrendous, dude."
No,
I don't think so. But
I love
by
your
the
Mesa
time
Boogie Ant-Man as well.
by the time we were in year 11,
self-taught, all of us.
yeah, that's the way.
by the time we were in year 11, Drew was already awesome.
Oh yeah, Drew's sick. Yeah.
Like by the time we were like,
thanks, man.
by the time we were like in year 10, he was already like
Shredding
pretty
licks
darn
way
good.
beyond his capabilities.
But like Drew's like progress was pretty rapid.
Right.
Because we all started like us guys.
I was more like that thing, like sit in my bedroom on my own, like just kind of like.
And I think
Drew, Joe Satriani. And stuff.
I think you benefited from being a late developer because by the time I was in like year 9, I was like
Chicks.
all about chicks and going out with my mates.
Yeah, mate,
Whereas
I didn't
Drew
even
was
get
a
pubes
bit
until I
behind,
was like 17 or something.
So even though you were one of my best mates, we would majority of the time we would hang out at school.
Yeah,
or
you'd
like
be getting wasted and seeing chicks, and I'd be at home like.
Well, we'd like stay around each other's house, but like you wouldn't like come out like in town with me, and you weren't like sort of really seeing girls.
Yeah, my parents were pretty strict as well. Like I couldn't really drink until I was like 18, really. Like
but to me it was
whenever
funny.
I came around like Calum's because your parents are way more liberal and stuff, and
I'd just be like
just
passing
have fun,
out
guys.
vodka,
You know?
yeah.
That surprised me, man, because your mum's quite liberal. She's like arty, isn't she? That surprised me.
It wasn't your mum, really, was it? It was more your dad.
Yeah, and like they were just super strict parents. Like, because I was like the first child and stuff as well. I think I kind of got all the brunt of that. It's like, we got to do it right as parents and stuff, and they were always a lot more strict. Like even my sisters and stuff, like they were always allowed like boyfriends round, like stay over and stuff like after kind of me. But I wasn't even when a girlfriend would stay around, like I'd have to sleep on the sofa. You know what I mean? It was like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
come around mine would be like completely different around mine. But having like parties around mine.
It was kind of like that with you, to be fair, as well. Your house was pretty liberal.
Yeah.
And we camp out in the garden. You basically lived in a shed.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That's where we first started the band, wasn't it? In the shed, I think.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was one of our first band practice venues, wasn't it, I suppose?
Yeah.
And then your mum moved house.
Yeah.
So we had to find somewhere else, and Soul Man had a garage, so we practiced in a garage, much to the dismay of his neighbours for a long time.
Yeah.
And then when did we go? We've
been all over.
Yeah,
really,
we practiced a lot of
all
places,
over.
skittle alleys and all sorts of places, like horrendous.
So bearing in mind that like none of you guys could play your instruments, what would you guys do when you would be at band practice? Do you know what I mean? Because like to me, I'm like, well, if you couldn't play an instrument, like, how would you
try
even
and write your own songs first?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we didn't.
Straight
Yeah,
away.
we just wrote our own.
Man.
We never really played anybody else's stuff at all.
in the long run, that's really beneficial, though. I think, isn't it? In the long run.
Yeah, I think like it really helps you individually as a player to learn other people's songs because it it helps you along the way on your instrument and pick up techniques and all that sort of stuff. But like, we never did that as a band, did we? We always just whenever we went into band practice, it was like, right, who's got a song, who's got a riff, who's got like, what can we do? Or it would just be a jam.
That's so cool.
That's me and Drew were talking earlier on, and this just feeds in perfectly. Is we were talking about the differences. I was saying how I watched like Grimes on Lex Friedman's podcast. I actually listened to it yesterday. It was really interesting. It wasn't like a new podcast. It was like 6 months ago or something, but I listened to it last night. And she was going on about how she sees like creativity as like a muscle. You know what I mean? You have to develop the muscle. You have to work on it constantly, and if you don't, it will like atrophy.
It fizzles out. Yeah.
And she was saying how like she knows this like amazing guitarist who she like hangs out with in the studio in California, and she said that he's like proper like Eddie Van Halen level guitarist, and he's like in his 40s, and one day, she said to him, like, where they were just hanging around after they'd been doing some stuff, and she said, like, how come you've never like done an album or ever knocked anything out? And this guy's been like such a successful session guitarist for like amazing massive names in like in California, and he was just like, I can't. And she was like, what do you mean? And he was like, I just can't write music. And she was like, it almost like spun her out that a guy that's that good at his instrument was like saying that he physically could not write music, like can't write a tune.
It's that creativity, isn't it? I think, definitely.
So you guys are like almost like the opposite of him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Almost.
Your creativity is like, you guys are amazing, but then your technique, obviously at the start anyway.
Well, I think I think learning a bit of music theory definitely helped. Like going to college and writing things down actually on music paper and stuff. I got this program like. Where you could tab out stuff.
Oh, Power Tab.
Or I was Guitar Pro. I would literally start to finish write every part of every song for a while, didn't I? And I came to you guys with every part of every song for a long time. like even the brass lines and stuff. I worked
That's
out that it was like
man.
a tone away from a guitar, and I was like, well, I could write that. That's cool. And I'd have a melody in my head, and I'd put it down onto the computer.
Sound.
And then I would literally walk into a room and go, "You're playing this. You're playing this. You're playing that. You're playing that." And it wasn't like I didn't know how to write it down necessarily. I would tap it into the computer and I go, "Oh, that doesn't sound right," and then I'd shift it and put it where it should be. You know, like what I don't really have that much musical knowledge at all, but I could write a song. You know, like,
it sounds good.
Yeah, I mean
that was so helpful, Guitar Pro, man, as well.
Yeah.
I used to love that. Like, we used to
Use that in GCSE.
Yeah, that was what got me like a good
grade. Yeah, for sure, man. Just being able to type it.
and because like I didn't necessarily like read proper notation for like guitar.
No.
But you had the tabs, and then it would turn it all into notation
and you would be
at
able
the
to
top.
see it.
And it's like you could hand that in and be like, it's completely
Makes you feel like a
notated
Beethoven.
and
Yeah,
you can hear it all and that. And
it did, and like and being able to like even. So I'm sort of a feel writer. So when I write stuff, I already know how the drum should sound. Like, and I if it doesn't sound like that, I'm like, nah, that's not quite the vibe I'm going for.
Yeah, I think that's so good though, man, because you've already got that vision.
Yeah.
So then it's easy to write.
Yeah.
And you can direct. You know what I mean? You're directing the band. You know.
But then as we've got older, that's sort of shifted, hasn't it? I think. Like when we were a bit younger, I did a lot of that. But then going forwards, people started to sort of take their own ideas, and I don't think I had creative control so much. I think I just brought a lot of stuff, and everyone went, okay, cool, let's play that. But like now there's a huge amount of other people going, well, I've got this and I've got that, and then we collaborate a lot more than we ever used to, I think.
I think with stuff like that, obviously you guys have like gone through quite a lot of different band members, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I think that it's like, as long as you have musicians that you're playing with that you trust and you respect them as musicians, you're much more happy to just let them do what they want.
I think the cores remain the same, hasn't it? Me and you have always been there. Soulman's always been there. A Sharp Boy's pretty much always been there. And then it was just the brass really that chopped and changed. The bassist a couple of times, wasn't it?
Higsy used to be in your
Higsy was in there.
He's a sound guy, isn't he?
He's a good dude. But brass members.
We've had countless brass members, really. Yeah. I think if everyone that had ever been in our band was like on the stage at once, there'd probably be about 25 people.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
because
maybe 20, 25 people.
Jay's brother used to be in a band, didn't he?
Chris, yeah. So he was in there for a long time. I never thought he'd leave. Actually, I thought he'd be like an OG.
Yeah.
And now he wants to play weddings. He used to be quite cool, didn't he, when he was in our band, and now again he's got nothing going for him now, really. When he was a sax player in Shoot the Moon, he was the boy,
top of his game, wasn't he?
And now he's a sax player at like Sarah's wedding. How lame is that?
Screw Sarah. Who even is Sarah?
And so Hens just made her up.
Screw that lady. Yeah.
Goddamn sex.
But I think there's no real bitterness there. I think Hens just being a prat, but he was a brilliant member of the band and actually an incredible musician.
Yeah.
And I think in reality, there's not a lot of money in playing music unless you are, a big dog.
Oh yeah.
There's no money.
I mean, the thing is like obviously
when there's a lot of members in the band and stuff.
By local standards, you guys are really successful. But I think music's one of those things. It's a bit like acting, isn't it? It's like unless you're in like the top.
Yeah, you're getting peanuts.
1%.
Yeah,
maybe not even. Maybe even higher than that. It's like you're not. It's not enough to live.
Even if you're asking for big enough money for a show, like if we rolled in somewhere and said, look, it's $1,000. There's still like 7 of us to split that between. It's not actually that much when you think about the writing process and how much time goes into that, and then the practicing, the rehearsals, the space to rehearse in, getting there, getting back. That time away from your family, that kind of thing. Actually, £100 is like,
it's nothing.
It's not worth it.
You have to really love it, don't you?
You do.
You have to love what you're doing, and you have to.
It's almost like a little bit of pocket money,
bit of extra.
If
that's
anything,
the way you see it.
I think he just fell out of love with it, really.
I think for him, he obviously has got to a point where he knows he's very good at what he does, and he can make money doing it.
Yeah.
So that, his weekends that he was spending playing with us and not really making money, he can go and charge his own £500 for a wedding or whatever and say, I'll keep all of that.
That's fair enough.
Is probably where his head was at in some ways, and maybe it was pretty hard graft, wasn't it? Pre-COVID, I think we were grafting hard.
Well, it's a bit like, we were talking about Joe Wynn earlier on. He's a bit similar in that regard. So like, he's in, is it Snapper?
Yeah, Snapper.
And like, he makes quite a lot of money being the guitarist of Snapper.
Yep.
You know, he used to be in sort of bands playing his own material and stuff like that, but he didn't make any money. And I think for Joe,
but he really wanted to do it as a career still, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think, he loves music. He doesn't necessarily care at this stage in his life where he's got like a kid and blah, 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 about making it. Like, you know, when you're like a teenager, I want to be like the next whatever, whether it's like Nirvana or Metallica or whatever, I don't know. And then he's not, that's that part of his life's gone. He's really happy to make, you know, hundreds and hundreds of pounds every gig with Snapper. Like, that's pretty much what he is. Like, he pretty much is like, you know, because they do like something like 5 gigs a week or something ridiculous. So like the majority of Joe's,
good as well, but they're really good at what they do.
The majority of their income, Joe's income, is actually through the band. So I think he's just really happy that he's doing that. He doesn't care that he's playing covers.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Whereas, like, you know, our friend Josh Ayest, you know, Josh would like hate.
It's like selling his soul.
Yeah, he would like rather die.
That was what was so hard in the band as well,
Yeah.
because like a lot of the gigs we wouldn't even get paid for for Death by Kai, so we'd be like driving
Metal
up
bands,
to like Birmingham
so hard
and
to make
stuff,
money as a metal
and, like,
band.
and
Same
it
as a
was,
ska band, dude. Like, it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah. But I've always like really like respected any musicians that are just going out and can, you know, get paid for gigs full stop, because it's hard to get a paid gig like a lot of the time, you know. So you guys are just always like been smashing it, and you know it's hard because there's lots of members, but you were always doing it, and I respected that so much. Like I do, you know. So it's awesome.
Well, we drove all the way to Germany once, which is a long old way in a transit van.
Yeah, we did. We played a few shows there, didn't we?
But I think the third show on the tour
was Hamlin.
And the only people there was the guy that booked us.
The bar staff.
Really?
The bar staff, yeah.
And maybe one guy came in and was hammered, and
we were like, where is everyone? And he was like, oh, there's a festival up the road, so you guys have really like lugged out here.
Yeah,
So-
made a terrible choice.
Yeah.
but we had the gig of our lives that
Really?
night, and there was 3 people watching.
But you just had so much fun.
We played so well as well.
so well.
Like, and every time we play a show, everyone's like, play it like Hamlin.
Yeah.
Because we smashed it so hard.
Yeah, we killed it, mate.
They're
Honestly,
the moments. They're the moments, and
Yeah.
you fit and how good it was, and it's just like,
Those
oh,
three
hey, that's
people,
why I do it.
those 3 people had the best gig of their lives.
Yeah.
But you
It's
know,
like tribute.
honestly.
What did they just do?
honestly, it was. We played so well that night.
Yeah.
Everyone was on it, but and like the vibe was good. It was
Yeah.
really weird. It was like a killer band practice. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
that's awesome,
strange.
man.
Yeah, I'll always remember that.
But yeah, that was a cool show.
That is a hilarious.
And we obviously
long
we've played
story.
to more than 3 people, but that was a really, we did kill that show, which was really
did.
ironic because there was no one there to see it. But like you said, like tribute,
Yeah.
Playing the best song in the world and no one was there.
That's hilarious, man. So like, when did you guys? So once you sort of actually started like writing songs, and you know you felt like you were knocking them out right. When did you start feeling like you were actually doing pretty well, like on the local scene? Because you guys have played some pretty big gigs, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
I think whenever I look back at like past gigs and stuff, like any of them that have ever been recorded, like, I look back and I sort of cringe a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
and I honestly think that we're at the point now where we're better than we've ever been.
Mate, you guys went, because how long ago? It was like a month ago or something, you had a gig in Somerset. That was a freaking amazing gig.
Yeah, we were really tight like pre-COVID, because we were touring. We were just
playing
all,
like 100 shows a year at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
we were like killing it then. And that was a point in our lives where we thought that we were the best band in the world as well, which was cool. Like, we actually believed it. We were like, we kill the game.
If you don't believe it though, how can you expect
But we
anyone
were
else to?
tight. We were on it. Like everyone was really tight. Like the whole band knew. Like you could play the set
You were a
backwards. You
unit.
know, like everyone knew what song was next. Without there was no set lists on stage or anything. You know, we played enough shows to the point where we were just
That's
like,
amazing, man.
We just
amazing.
that's the flow. That's how we go. The segues were all perfect. We were like knocking shows
No
out.
going through the motions, no willy-nilly half-assed.
Nah.
Like, no.
But then it got to COVID, didn't it? And everything shut down.
It did, but weirdly enough, it was a really good time for us, or for me personally, because like we'd done it so much, I kind of just had enough. And like a few of us were feeling the same thing. We were burnt out, but it wasn't burnt out from being in the band. It was burnt out from just gigging
Too much.
constantly.
I remember you saying about that.
And I really just wanted to take a step back and just like record and
Smell the daisies, man.
write some new music, because essentially I was getting bored of playing the same 12 songs like every night.
It's fair enough, man.
And it was killing killing me. So like the pandemic came at a really good time for me personally, because we could all take a step back and just like write a new set list. We write a whole new EP, didn't we? Like,
One of the worst things is to get complacent, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
I think for us, obviously you probably know this as musicians, when you write a new song, you're like, right, let's get rid of the old ones, because you're writing new stuff and you're like, that's what I want to sound like. Why are we still playing that? And I think we got to a point where we've been playing the same set list for about a year because we hadn't been writing anything, because we'd literally been on the road playing and there was no time. And we'd get to band practice and be like, right, what should we do? Better not start writing a new song because we've got to play another show this weekend. We better get tight on the set and then go and play it, you know? So we were just literally doing the same thing over and over again almost. Which made us really good at it, but also like
lost a bit of the magic of what it's like.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think like with COVID, I think it made everyone realise that the band's really great and all, but why are we going out and playing 100 shows when we could record and write and get some really cool songs together and then go out and play 5 shows that we actually really, really want to play, rather than 100 shows and maybe 1 or 2 of them being shows that we're like, I really want that one.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys get like your own space around? Was it around then as well?
It was right at the beginning of COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we got our own recording studio.
Man, that's a dream, awesome. That is.
Yeah,
and
so
a place where you can leave your stuff and practice and everything.
Yeah.
Ideal, man.
So the latest EP is like 100% DIY. We did it all ourselves, didn't we?
All in that studio.
And is it Tom's the main genius behind that?
Tom produced the whole thing.
Tom Stahl.
He's the man, like, you know, pressing all the buttons and sort of.
I mean, we sit there and go through it all with him, and like obviously the vocal tracks, I'll sit there and say, well, I think it needs this, or I want to add this and try it and see what it sounds like. And that's the beauty of, it's almost like a pressure-free environment. I don't know if you guys, I know you've been in a studio before where you're paying the time and you're on a meter almost, right? So
man.
If you go in and it's your day to sing and you're not up to it,
that's it. It's like
you're like
pressure.
Oh
yeah,
god,
rubbish,
and it heaps it on you hard.
Yeah.
And if you don't knock it out the park, you're going, oh my god, I've wasted a day in a studio. It's like 600 quid. We'll have to do that again, you know. But like now, I'll ring Tom and be like, I fancy it today, mate. Do you want to go down there and I'll knock the vocals out? And he's like, yeah, all right, cool. And then I'll go and sing
That's
them,
ideal, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
it's
cool.
it's a totally different, totally different way of recording, which.
I think as well, like what you were saying there about, like, you know, now wanting to just like write new stuff and say do 5 shows in a year, like you're in a different place now. It was obviously really good for you in the past. You put all that work in, like doing 100 shows a year and stuff like that. You guys have built up like such a name now and stuff. It's going to build up almost like more hype when you guys do play. So it's almost like good all the way around, isn't it? You put in the work in the past. You know, every show is almost going to mean more now. Yeah. So it's almost like good to spread them out more and not to have them as much, because it means they mean more. Every gig, to all of your like biggest fans, every gig, they're going to be super hyped. Yeah. And they're going to really be excited to be there.
That's why we do 1 gig a year in Bridgie, isn't it? Because we used to just like overdo it a little bit, and then
we do 2 or 3.
We do 2 or 3, and then some people would be like, "Oh, I'll see him next time," you know. But if you do it once a year, everyone's like, "Oh, we got to go to that. We got to," because like they're not going to do it again for another year. So it works well.
An old like co-worker of mine, Kate Monk, who also is a friend of the pod, she like loves you guys. Yeah. You know Kate Monk's a little bit. I think you know a little bit. She was at your last gig. She was like right at the front.
Yeah, I think I know the one.
She always like parties out, like full on parties out, like, you know, just absolutely like loves it. But she like loves you guys. Like she thinks you guys are like the best thing ever.
No, I do know. I think I know who you're on about. Yeah, because she's always at every Bridgewater show. But yeah, I think we definitely in this town have, you know, like much like you guys, I think there was a bit of a cult following for sure. But there's also people that, you know, really respect like the bands that are still around. I mean, you guys were doing DBK for, you know, like 10, 12, 15 years.
Yeah, well, I think it started. Well, it depends what you want to think about it, isn't it? Like we started playing together when we were probably in about 2003, when we were about year 8. But then because I was with Sally and knocking around with Lyle so much, basically my mind was in a different place. So I sort of wasn't in it. And then then it went sort of like peristalsis.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was like Joe Wynn, and you sort of like, you would sort of be in and out. So sometimes Joe Wynn was the guitarist, sometimes you were the guitarist. Calum Plowright was the guitarist for a little while.
Shout out.
Josh Dudridge was the bassist for a while, and then
there was another guitar player as well for a little while, wasn't there? Just
Chris Chamberlain.
Yeah. He played
that was later on.
It was like more recent, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was like probably like early like 2010 to like 2005 or 6 or something.
Did you ever go back to it, Cal? Did you?
No, not in like Death by Kai or anything like that. I don't think me and Josh could be in the same band together because Josh is like a control freak and I'm like a maverick Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But also, I just like to do my own thing. Do you know what I mean? And it's, I think, like, say, like, and do you know what I mean? I absolutely love Josh, but sometimes you just, you know, I'm sure you guys have like people that you love, but you're like, I couldn't work with that person.
Yeah.
Or you might have ex-bandmates that maybe they're not in the band for that reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I might be that guy.
But like, I love and respect Josh. He's like, he's an amazing musician, amazing artist, and an amazing guy. But do you know what I mean? I couldn't have him telling me what to do all the time. Yeah. I would literally just be like, no. But
I also maybe, like, I think that's quite healthy.
Yeah.
Because I was that guy, 100%.
Yeah.
I was that guy. Like, you know, when I was writing the tracks and I was literally rolling in and going, do that. And then if they weren't doing it, I was like, that's not how it should be. You need to do this, right? And that's exactly what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was that guy, wasn't I?
You were a bit like that, yeah.
But like,
I think it really, it works in the right situation sometimes, you know, because it's very productive. Like, it does get things done and everything, you know.
It's a bit like that direction I was saying about, to have a director that's like, you're doing that, you're doing that, you're doing that.
But it's almost one guy's ideas then, isn't it? You know, which can it can irritate people, can rub people up the wrong way, and especially like if you've got creativity in you.
I was going to say,
probably
if you are creative,
I'm itching to do my thing, you know.
Yeah, that's it. If you have your own vision of doing stuff,
But I think as you get older, you sort of lose that. I suppose it's a bit of an ego thing, isn't it? I guess. Yeah. And you kind of lose that and go, actually, you know, if people tell me it's not very good, I'm okay with dropping it.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
And I think that it does take time. Like when I was young, if someone said, "Nah, I don't like it," would really offend me. You know, like if someone in the band was like, "Nah,"
it's like an attack, isn't it?
That whole thing, man. Steaming.
Launch them across.
But I think looking back, you know, they're always the best intentions, and I think you, as a band, you write stuff you want to hear, right? So you should really write the music you love.
Yeah.
So you should probably love your own music more than you love any other band's music.
Oh, totally,
right?
man. Yeah,
because you're writing for you, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I would listen to us because I write the music I want to hear.
When you guys write music, I'm really interested because obviously everybody has their their own formulas of like making music and their own reasons for making music and their own muses and everything. Like when you write music, right? Are you thinking about bands that have influenced you and like almost like taking bits and bobs from these different bands?
It happens every which way, I would say. Like sometimes that for me, like I can listen to a band or a song and be like, oh, you know, I'm drawing inspiration from that straight away. Like,
do you think like I want to write like a guitar piece or something like that? That's like not obviously like you don't want to like be copying it, but you're inspired by it and you want to do something like that. Do you feel like that?
Inspired by the vibe?
It's more of a feel, you know. You know, like I can think off the top of my head now, like the way our track "Hard at Work" came about. Is because you know we all grew up in the same sort of era, didn't we? So like in the early noughties, like Blink-182 were a huge band, one of the biggest bands of all time. And the way that they made you feel when you first listened to them, something about that feeling, I got that later on in life. So I started loving Blink-182 like 5 years ago for some reason. I was like, I love this band. I don't know why, but I just love this band. Yeah. So that song came about me loving that band. For some reason, if you listen to it really...
It's all innuendos and schlongs and dongs.
It's about schlongs and dongs and innuendos. Yeah, and like if you listen to it... even
juvenile, like, sort of male juvenile behaviour, like comedy.
Yeah, it's comedy. It's not taken seriously.
It's
not taken seriously. We like, you know...
That's one of the things I love about your guys' band in general. Like when you listen to it, it's like all the funny references and the immature like jokes and lines in your guys' songs just crack me up. It's brilliant.
I think we take ourselves less seriously than ever now.
100%.
Yeah.
I think our lyrics are silly at times, but like in some ways, you know, they're kind of clever because we kind of tell a story that we make a lot of self jokes as well, don't we?
Yeah.
There's a song called White Boy Reggae, which is just like an absolute hammering of bands that are white and play ska and reggae music,
like ourselves,
and that's us. So, like we absolutely obliterate ourselves in that music.
I think that's like really beautiful though, and I think it goes to show, as I said, you guys have stayed down to earth and stuff, and I think a lot of it's probably because you guys have been in that friendship group, and you said like, you know, you'll just sort of, if one of you guys are being a bit of like annoying, then someone's just going to slap you and wrestle you to the floor, and that's, you know, you're checking each other constantly. But I think one of the little things I don't like about music is that sometimes certain musicians take themselves very seriously, and you see it a lot with like very successful musicians, whether it's like Bono or you know, like, or like, you know, not to point like, you know, specifically. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can see that they almost get this like Jesus syndrome.
Yes,
and it instantly just almost makes you not really want to listen to the music anymore.
Makes you cringe,
and it's a shame because you should separate the art from the artist, but it just, you know, they're so self-important. And I remember even thinking it myself, like even when I was sort of like in like a late teenager, I guess, by that sort of time when you're in your late teens, like you've left school. But I remember like some certain people I knew, say that I was friends with since I was younger, that say were good musicians, and they were, you know, not like successful musicians, but playing around town, say, and getting, you know, recognition, and people going up to them and saying you're awesome at your instrument, and that. And I could see that like their egos. I think we all get big egos when we're teenagers if you're doing good at something, because you haven't got the wisdom to think, actually, I'm not like this godly figure. You just go straight to your head, doesn't it? Yeah. Because you're like girls, booze, and you're wasted all the time, and you're like,
do you think that's why
I'm awesome?
A lot of like young celebrities go a bit nuts?
I reckon it is, yeah.
Because of that.
They get this godlike syndrome. And I remember thinking a bit like, oh man, this person's like changing a little bit. Like their ego's like gone through the roof. And as a result, it's almost like they're almost like a bit of an uglier person now to me.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas you guys don't seem to have suffered from that at all.
No, I don't think we have.
I think you have humility, haven't you? I think, you know, like, I think we, like you said, we check each other quite a lot. You know, there was a time where I was probably writing every lyric for the band, and you guys literally took me to pieces one day. You were like, dude, how many ex-girlfriends can you possibly write about?
Mate, that's
and they were just like, we're just sick of hearing it, man. Like, you know, and I think I needed that.
We'll just write about something else other than like love.
Because, you know, like
score
you
and
write
love.
about but you write about what you feel generally, don't you? And at the time I was like, yeah, that's what's on my mind, that's what I'm going to write about, you know. So
boobies.
But like these guys, but these guys were in a totally different place,
boobies.
you know. Like I might have been there, but they were just like, dude, like we don't
lighten up,
talk
man.
about that. Yeah,
It was like that a little
it was,
bit.
100%.
Cry me a river.
In all fairness, though, some of those songs were like some of your best songs. Like it's just like you know.
Yeah, but then that's where. Like, it depends where you're at, doesn't it? I think sometimes, you know.
Yeah, balance, like with everything, like with even that, like people getting really overly kind of egotistical and stuff. Like if you don't believe, like you said earlier, like if you don't believe in yourself and think you're like amazing, you're kind of not going in the right direction. Like you can kind of, you know,
I think you can. It's very.
But then it's like that. It's like, you know, if you're writing something that's a bit different, then like, or that everyone's not into, it's just bringing back the balance into it.
It's all about the balance.
The balance.
The balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Drew talk about this sometimes, about how like, you know, almost like everything is about balance. You've got to keep balance and everything. As soon as something is out of balance in almost anything in life,
Yep.
it's messed up, and somehow the balance needs to be restored. And until
it'll like restore itself like subconsciously without you even realising, then you're like messing up. You know what I mean? That's what happens to me.
Yeah,
well, the whole world works with balance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and you talk about it all the time. Like when you're talking about your training and stuff, you have to balance your diet, you have to balance how much you train.
Yeah, sure. Man.
Like the world, you know, like you look at anything, you have to balance like prey and predators, that kind of thing. Like literally the whole world works on balance, doesn't it? So I think, you know, you've probably got
ecosystems, music, relationships, politics, everything.
Yeah,
you know,
it's definitely a good point.
Yeah, that's crazy,
balance. Man. But yeah, Hen, did you bring? You brought a couple of quick fire facts of your own, didn't you?
That's awesome, dude.
Pod.
We do.
Yeah, mate, spit out some quick fire facts.
You ready? Do you want me to give you the one first?
Yeah, you go first. I'll tell you my one afterwards.
Nice.
Okay, hang on a minute.
We went to great lengths to think of some quick fire facts.
Awesome,
nice.
For the pod.
Okay, so if any of you guys have ever struggled to really like understand the difference between a million and a billion,
right,
I've got a really good way of like visualizing it.
All right.
So if me and Joe were to sit here with you guys shooting the breeze for 1 million seconds, we'd be here for 12 days.
Right.
If we were doing that for 1 billion seconds, we'd be here for 31 years.
Whoa.
It's crazy, the difference.
That is a mad difference, isn't it?
That's a mad difference. The reason I was thinking that is because, like, you know, you try and figure out, like, a millionaire. Like, how much money do they have? Well, obviously, you know, a lot.
Yeah.
12 days worth.
A billionaire.
Yeah.
Now, that's stupid money.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Share the wealth.
That's ridiculous.
Share the wealth, man.
I do think that when it gets to that sort of level of money, there's like, or it's like, you know, like I'm not one of those people at all that's like, oh, bring down the monarchy. I'm not like necessarily, you know, like, but I do, and you know, I think the Queen was like a sound lady, or like, you know, seemed like it, especially, I think for someone to be under that sort of spotlight for so long and to never really make headlines, like, some of her idiot family members might have done, but she seemed like a really stand-up lady and seemed to really genuinely care about, like, serving our country and stuff. But I think even with that said, you hear sometimes about actually how much money they were, say, getting a year. It was just unnecessary amount. I'm not saying they shouldn't have been getting anything, but it was an unnecessary
they definitely create wealth, though, don't they?
Oh, that's the thing. And I think that's what a lot of people don't take into account.
Like footballers and stuff as well. Like people say they get paid stupid money, but actually they create a lot of that wealth themselves.
Oh, man, let's face it. How many Americans and Canadians and Aussies and, well, people from all over the world, I'm sure, have just come to England just because they want to go stand at the gates of Buckingham Palace or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So, like, the amount of, like, tourism and stuff that the royal family bring in. Like, the Yanks and the Canadians and that seem to love it, like more than we do.
Yeah, Asia as well. It's really popular in Asia because they don't really have a lot of monarchs anymore.
I know that British cars sell by far the most in India.
Yeah,
like in India, if you make
part of the empire, isn't it? So I suppose it's it's obviously not anymore, but
everybody wants to drive a Jaguar and a Rolls Royce, and that's like you've made it if you've got one of those cars. Whereas over here, we usually tend to drive German cars and stuff, like a lot more. It's funny.
Yeah. My fact's way more jovial and less poignant.
Do you know what? Before you say yours, though, Joe, now I really want to know how long we'd be here for a trillion seconds.
I've got it.
He's got it. Yeah, he's got it.
I bet it's something ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It's something ridiculous, like 5,000 years, or maybe not that much. But
I don't know. You're not far off, mate. It's 31,000.
Is it
years?
31,000. That's crazy.
Wow.
So imagine having a trillion.
Yeah, that's insane.
Let me just double check that. Yep. 31,688 years is a trillion seconds. Yeah.
That's cray, isn't it?
Yep.
Wow. Do you want mine?
Yeah, come on, Joe, bring it.
Man.
It's way more stupid.
Hit me.
The guy who invented Pringles is he was cremated and buried in a Pringles tube. Genuine fact. And obviously I'm going to make you guess which flavour.
Paprika.
Just original.
Oh, I don't know. I was just going to say salt and vinegar.
It's OG, isn't it? It's obviously he's the original.
Yeah,
he's the original Pringles guy, of course.
Yeah.
Original.
Nailed it, baby.
Nice man. No, I mean, there's no such thing as like a silly fact. I think it's just like any information is good information.
That one did make me chuckle though. I was like, that is a way to go out.
Yeah. Also, I like the guy that guy didn't take himself too seriously, did he?
Nah. And also, like, there's a face on the Pringles tube, isn't there? So just just like lying there with this little Pringles face.
Yeah.
Do you want to do your second one, then I'll do my last one, or do you want to like?
Yeah, do yours, and then I'll try and remember mine.
All right, okay.
I've forgotten this. Oh no, I've got it. You do yours after because I like yours. It's pretty good. Okay. Cal, because you drink a lot of mead, and you even spoke about mead before.
Yeah.
So I was watching something last night actually, and they were talking about where mead sort of began. Do you know the origins of mead and why?
Well, I know that like the Saxons and the Vikings also used to have it a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just fermented honey, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
No, I don't know the absolute origins.
So what would have happened was obviously they would have gone to bees' nests to get honey. When you drop honey in water, the bees can't smell it anymore. They're no longer attracted to it. So people would have run away carrying this honey and then gone, put it, in like a hollowed out tree trunk or like a hollowed out rock or whatever that was full of water, and the bees would leave them alone. And then over a course of days, they'd come back to it and it would have fermented naturally. And then that's where
it is just like delicious though. I mean, I think, it does pretty much just taste like honey, obviously.
And that's where, they would have naturally created that fermentation and gone, oh, we've made something.
Apparently, like the fermentation process as well, like enhances all the health benefits of honey, because it's like an antimicrobial and antibacterial and all that. Yeah. It basically like times all of that by like 10 in the fermentation process. So apparently it's really good if you're like, say, fighting an infection or something like that. It's actually like really good to like drink mead. Yeah. Cool.
I don't think I've ever tried mead.
It's not my favourite alcohol.
It's quite sweet. The thing is, you can get so many different types of mead, can't you?
Mate, I polished that bottle you gave me the other day. I polished it all off in one night.
That was like the one I gave Drew. It was
like a licorice one.
Yeah, it was called like Sleepnear's mead. It was like treacle mead, but it tasted like licorice. It was mental, mate. If you love it's obviously that's a bit Marmite, isn't it? I think a lot of people either love or hate licorice, but it was a bit of a mental one.
Sambuca.
I was
too many sambucas. Enjoy sambuca.
Over the sort of like festive period, I was drinking this like elderflower, and that was delicious. And as I said, I got this Apple one as a present from somebody, and that was it was just earlier on you were talking about like dangerous drinks, Joe, weren't you? Like it was like a dangerous drink.
Yeah, it's just like a nectar you could pour in your face.
It just tasted like just like apple juice, but like you could still taste the honey. And it was just like apple juice with like a bit of honey mixed into it, and it was just insanely nice, man. But yeah,
taste it.
You can get all these different types.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get some mead for the next time you guys are on.
Yeah,
Bring
for
it
sure.
in, we'll have one in. We'll try it out.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah,
do you want to hear my last fact?
Yeah, do it, dude.
Okay. Joe knows what's coming.
I do. It's incredible.
So a man named Bernard Clemens farted for 2 minutes and 42 seconds straight, right? Which is a world record. Straight fart, 42 minutes. 2 minutes. 42
I love the idea with somebody like with a stopwatch, like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But the reason I know that is because I thought I'd broken the record.
How long did you do it for, man?
Well, I went through a stage of recording my farts. Because I thought it was hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Yeah,
It is hilarious to this day. Like, it is hilarious. And I got one which is 13 seconds long.
Mate, that's pretty impressive.
Seconds, that's really good.
Do you want to hear it?
Mate, let's do it. Play
Honestly,
it. Make sure you put it right up to the microphone.
It's one of the best things you'll ever
Right
hear.
up to the
This is a
microphone.
genuine fart as well from
Yeah.
Henry.
So I thought I'd got the record, but I'm way off. But anyway, here we go.
But let's hear your fart. Then. Mate, it was like singing by the end.
That was angry, man. That started off angry.
Yeah.
Mate,
Did you figure out a way of how to like do longer farts?
Yeah, dude. Like my cousin taught me how to do like these long farts when I was like 8 years old.
like I was like, yeah, my cousin. So that's an ancient like secret, some ancient
wisdom
techniques.
passed down for
Yeah.
for the ancestors.
Taught me how to do long farts.
Yeah, man. So
good.
so that like
Is it like a family secret?
it is family secret.
So
I
it
can't
goes
share,
to your
yeah.
grave.
Yeah,
Right,
it will
fair
go.
enough, mate. I respect that.
Yeah. So
That like 13 seconds there felt like a lifetime to me.
over
Imagine
2 minutes.
2.5 minutes.
That guy must have had
2:40.
some medical issue.
I
surely.
don't think it's fair because they know how to like suck it in and just, do you know what I mean?
What, like circular breathing on a didgeridoo or something, or on a saxophone?
Like they do. Like it's like a secret
Yeah, so
society.
these guys that can do it for 2 minutes and 42 seconds, like people can make themselves burp and they can just continuously do it.
I never got like that. You know,
I can
we
do
all know
that.
someone that can burp the alphabet and stuff. Like,
So this guy can do that, but with his farts, which is why I think he's cheating.
right,
like,
yeah.
Circular
so
farting.
natural.
Is it a true fart? When does a fart not become a fart?
Exactly.
Is it just
Yeah,
because
when's
it's
the
coming
start,
out of your
when's the end?
ass? Does that make it a fart?
I think so. I think that's fair.
So in
Air
that
travels
case,
past
then
the
it's
anus.
completely
Legal.
warranted.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
We'll give it to him.
But then could you like shove a canister up there and squeeze it in and then fart that
I
out? Does
think
that
that's
count?
illegal. No, I think that's illegal because that's
Yeah.
not a genuine. That's
Where'd you draw the line?
your
That's
gas,
just
mate.
Draw the
It's
line.
got to be totally natural.
That's not your gas, mate. Is it?
Oh, I also, Drew, I bought you a gift.
Oh,
So, obviously, knowing that we're quite big fans of the pod,
Yeah.
on an episode quite recently, you were talking about. We were trying to work out which one it was, weren't we? On the way
it's
here,
lost.
there was some sort of Japanese reference. I think it might have been a Mystery Monday, but you were talking about those little breadsticks that Japanese people eat, and Drew was saying that he really wanted to try them.
Oh right.
So I bought Drew some breadsticks, which are essentially exactly what you were talking about, dipped in chocolate. So
Sound.
there you go, man.
thank you so much,
She bought you
man.
2 boxes.
That is amazing. Look
Mate,
at
that's
that.
awesome, man. There you
Oh,
go,
man.
Drew.
And I want
Can I try one like
yeah,
right now?
that's what I want you to
Oh,
do.
yeah, baby.
Let's all share them, mate. Let's all share
Let's
them.
all have one.
But
have
obviously, you
them
can
together.
take that box home. We'll share that one, and then you can
Yeah, man.
take the
Cheers,
other box
dude.
home, Drew.
Cheers, man. Oh, I feel like I'm passing around a doobie.
I thought it'd be quite fun to just ask you guys some questions. Drew, you join in this as well. They're not specific
good?
to you guys. They're just.
I am excited about you eating this, Drew.
That's really nice, man.
Oh,
That's
mate.
good, isn't it?
That's so much better than even thought.
you were talking about it was a lady, wasn't it? I think she was murdered or something, but she was really famed for like or renowned for eating these like little sticks, right?
Mrs. Mercado.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
there was
I'm
another
pretty
one.
sure they were called something similar to that, though, weren't they? Like
What was
Mickey
it?
sticks or something like
Yeah,
that.
was there one where like the guy something was being poisoned? You remember when Bullwinkle was saying about there was like they were poisoning a candy in
that's
was
it.
it these?
Yeah, no, that was something slightly different.
I think that was something different. It might have been the same.
Man, my memory is so bad.
I sometimes blends into one.
No, that was because that was there was a candy company and
yes, that's the one with like that guy and he was never found.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been that actually. Maybe it was because that was in Asia, wasn't it?
And then it was in Japan, and they poisoned the sweets or something. And then
that's right.
One thing I'd actually, before I ask guys these questions, like, how did you guys get your Shoot the Moon sound? Because obviously it's like a ska band.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
like essentially. I know it's like a bit. To me, what I said to Drew is, you guys almost remind me of. It's almost like a. This is probably not accurate, and you guys, as the actual band members, you're going to be like, that sucks. But it almost like sounds like cross to me between like almost like Incubus and Madness or something.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
like
a weird mixture between like Incubus and it somehow works. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in your head, if you hadn't heard you guys, you think that sounds like a weird mixture. Like how like what the hell would Madness and Incubus sound like together? Listen to Shoot the Moon, you'll find out.
It's 6 influences, isn't it? There's 6 people influencing the music, and we've all got different tastes of music, and we all like different things. We all like the same thing as well, but we all like different things. And I think.
So, what would you say are the things that you guys all like musically?
You've hit 2 of them on the head. To be fair, there's definitely some sort of like 80s ska, that classic Madness Specials, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Specials are a cool band, man.
100% in there. Like the Specials for me were the greatest ska band of all time.
Yeah,
just like their political.
What about like the beat? Incredible. Do you like the beat?
Love the beat. Yeah,
that's great. Mirror in the Bathroom is a great
we've had the
track,
pleasure of playing with the beat a few times.
Twice,
and obviously like when
cool,
Rankin
man.
Roger was alive, we played with him a couple of days. He's a really nice guy.
That's awesome, man.
I went to watch the Specials when they did their reunion tour in Birmingham with my dad, my uncle, and a couple of friends, and I was annihilated. I was in the middle of the crowd swinging all my clothes around my head, shouting "Rude Boy" at all the old like bold blokes, "Rude Boy" like that. And it's incredible. But after the show, Rankin Roger recognised me because we played with him a couple of times, and he invited us back to like the after party.
Dude.
So
what more could you want?
Well, like my dad's hero was like Terry Hall. So I got to like go back and meet all of like the band. And it was really, really cool. And Roger was doing like his DJ set, and there was literally like 20 people in the room.
That must have been awesome for your dad. Because I bet it was awesome for you that you almost like you did that. You did that for your old man.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, it was cool. It was a nice thing to be able to do because like Rog was just like, Joe, how you doing, man? Like, Shoot the Moon, how's it going? And I was like, any chance of us getting in with you? And he was like, yeah, man, come on in. And I was like, I'm with my old man, my uncle and stuff. He's like, yeah, bring them in too.
That's how you know you made it, mate.
It was really cool. It was cool. And it was nice that that he recognised us, and we played him a couple of times, and he sort of recognised that, which was really cool.
Yeah, man.
We've played with Madness as well, haven't we?
In the Palace,
Madness, yeah, that was a local one.
Awesome, man.
Which was a really cool. But yeah, so obviously a lot of us grew up on that. Soul Man's dad, my dad were massive ska fans, but obviously for us, we grew up on like Rage Against the Machine.
Well, as you were saying earlier, that era, I think
the noughties
era that we all listened to in school and stuff.
Everything that was on Kerrang in the noughties.
Yeah, man.
It's just like
yeah. And I think that's heavily influenced us as well, And then there's bands that were like that new wave of ska, like Less Than Jake and Goldfinger, and again they've sort of added to the melting pot. And I think it's just like Hen said, it's like hundreds of influences just mashed together, and we don't write stuff because we need it to be a ska song.
It's got to be like this.
We go, that sounds kind of cool, and then we're like, can we fit brass to this? And then we're like, well, maybe, and then sometimes no. Sometimes no. It's like what song is it? Kicked in the Box is quite light on brass, isn't it?
Yeah, Driving Blind as well.
Driving Blind
has only got a little bit at the end,
literally just the end, which is actually my favourite part of the song, but there's no real brass in it at all, because it doesn't really need it. Like, we don't add it.
I think you could overdo it sometimes, couldn't you? Like it does sound so cool, and it's such a cool thing to have in a band. But yeah, if it was just all the time, it would just lose that like that effectiveness almost.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that sort of sets us apart in a lot of ways, the brass section. Like,
I think, that's what I remember, like when going to gigs and seeing you guys when we were younger and everything. It was just like, this is so cool. There's so many of you, and you had the brass section as well. And it's
just another opportunity to add a melody, isn't it? Like for me, like vocal melodies, great. And then you can do some guitar melodies and stuff, which is also really cool. And then you can hit them with a brass melody. So you got 3 opportunities to put a new melody out, So like in a traditional band, you've got generally a vocal melody and maybe a guitar melody, but like in a ska band, brass melodies are like even more poignant than vocal melodies a lot of the time, aren't they? Like,
they cut through, man.
I mean, I've been to gigs where I sing brass lines to bands, where they've played a brass line, I'm like singing it, and I know that, and I don't even know the words, because that's the bit that sticks out. So
that's the bit.
I think it's a really good opportunity having brass in a band to actually
explore
create
some
melodies.
lovely melodies. Oh, yeah,
for sure.
man, that's so cool.
I think so.
Nice. So you would just say, so just that basically that noughties music that we all grew up with, mixed with
like
all of that 80s
parents,
stuff.
force feeding us.
Well, I think it's like, I think it's like stuff that your parents listened to, we say, in the car when they were driving you around when you were a little kid. That sticks with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, recently I've been listening to, I don't even know why I suddenly got the urge. I was like, I just really want to listen to Depeche Mode and Talk.
Nice.
And that's because, my old man used to play that in the car quite a lot. I have like visions of being in his like Ford Sierra.
Well, the 80s is their noughties, isn't it? Like you'll grow up, you'll be playing your kids' noughties music, won't you?
Yeah,
you know, like, and I know I will. I know I do.
Yeah.
So like, obviously, we got kids relatively similar age.
Yeah.
And I guarantee like my daughter's favourite song is Bohemian Rhapsody, you know, because we listened to it when she was young, and she knows lyrics to songs that I grew up with, which is kind of cool. But that's kind of basically that's what our dads did to us, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
So that, you know, if hopefully she does grow up and enjoy playing music, if she does, then, you know, that's probably going to influence her in some way.
It's funny because what you were saying about that brass influence with me, I think it's like that. Because
like
my old man listens,
thing,
because he listened to us, and it didn't come about until a bit later in my life. My appreciation for synth, like the stuff I listened to when I was a teenager and in my 20s as well, didn't really listen to any like synthy stuff.
No.
And then I got into Rush, the band Rush, and they have quite a lot of synth in their stuff, and I really like dug it. And then it somehow just brought back around. I was like, you know, liking things like Depeche Mode and that, which I said, my old man used to listen to all the time when I was a little kid. And even things like, you know, Sisters of Mercy, they have quite a lot of like drum, they don't have any drums, they have a drum machine.
Yeah, like a machine,
and like little bits of synth here and there, just here, you know, and it's just, I've just fallen in love with that sound.
And like Clanad, who've got like the
my mum used to listen to loads of Clanad,
like
but it's like they were like an 8,
with some awesome synth. And I always thought of synth as like electronic music and stuff. But when you hear like some of these classic bands,
they're like an 80s folk band, but because it was in the 80s, everything had pretty much everything had synth in the 80s. So it's like
it's been really fun to mess around with that stuff now because I never really played like keyboard or anything. But now we've got like a couple of synths and stuff.
There's a song we're working on at the moment, isn't there? And it's like on your Korg, we've just found some proper like retro 80s synth sounds, and we are loving it, aren't we? We're absolutely loving it. Just like working on that track at the moment, it just sounds like a very 80s style track.
Can't wait to hear it.
Cheers, man. It's going to be a long one. It's probably going to be about 10 minutes long by the time it's finished.
That's cool.
Nice. Pink Floyd it.
Mate, I find it really hard to write short songs.
Yeah.
Something like a general theme, I think, with me. Or
you got to put down what's there though.
Yeah.
You know, like I think people are guilty sometimes of trying to fit things in a time slot when you've got so much to say or so much to write.
I've got too much to say, clearly.
But there's not a limit.
Next Meatloaf,
you know. You think about like the proper bands of old, like long playing records were like 8 minutes long, and almost every song that anyone ever did was like 8 minutes long. The only reason they shortened them down was because they didn't fit on the radio, wasn't it? So like, you know, short player.
There's like attention spans and stuff like that, and there's like a recipe for a pop song, and it's that. You know,
but they're getting shorter and shorter now. You know, because that's what people are fed. Like obviously, you know, like say in the 80s when our parents were listening to music, they were on LPs, weren't they? And they would listen to a whole song because you couldn't forward it on because you'd scratch the disc or whatever, you know. And then as we came into it, we could skip songs on a CD player, so actually we wouldn't have to listen to the whole thing if we didn't want to. And now, like, the kids get about 3 seconds in and they're next, and they had nothing. If you're not hooked them in within about 3 seconds of a lick,
I reckon a lot of teenagers now don't even listen to albums. I think they just compile their own Spotify playlists or whatever of different songs they like. And I think I reckon there's probably teenagers out there that have never listened to an album all the way through.
Yeah, no, they don't.
I can't remember the last time I did that.
Oh, dude, it's so good to do.
I've
done it a few times recently. I listened to
to
Room on Fire the other day, the Strokes album.
All right.
That's such a good album. Like to listen to start to finish. There's a few.
It's a different feel, isn't it? Like sometimes you do obviously just want to listen to a certain song.
Yeah.
But it's like if you can spare the time, you know, if you're like a long car journey on your own, or if you're just like got a bit of time at home, stick on like an album you like all the way through, and it makes you appreciate every individual song more as well. I think.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that albums
are meant to be
stories as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you're a band, actually, when you put together an album, you generally think about the order of things.
That's how the
I was
band
just
wants
going
you
to
to
ask
listen
that, man.
to it.
Like, how hard do you find that when, like, in the writing process and kind of putting a longer thing together? You know, like,
I mean, we've sort of got on the bandwagon a little bit, and we're sort of EPing now rather than albuming, aren't we? But
yes, if we did another album, we'd be waiting a long time. That's why I think
Yeah,
So.
but I mean, the four tracks that we did, we ummed and ahed for a long time about the order, didn't we? And what order they should be in, and how they'd fit best. And we looked at like the keys of the songs and which parts fitted into each other. We looked at the transitions between the songs. We literally looked at everything right down to how many seconds should be between each song. Like,
I think that's good though, because it's like it's your job as like the storyteller. Like, what are you trying to make that person feel? As you said, you're taking somebody on like you're telling a story, and you're taking somebody on like a ride, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you want that ride to be? Do you want it to be like a thought-provoking one? Do you want it to be like a silly one? Do you want it to just be all fun and games? Do you want it to like wax and wane, bring you up and then take you down again, and all these things, and like once you've decided whatever you do want, then you have to implement that in the best way possible, don't you?
Yeah. I think you had a huge say in that. Actually. You were quite influential in that.
Yeah, well, something really annoyed me on the album. Like one song finished, and then another one just went bang straight into it, and we hadn't thought about it hard enough, and it almost was quite jarring.
It kind of like
it didn't flow.
Yeah.
You felt like that previous song needed a couple seconds.
It needed a couple of seconds just to let it sink in, just to sort of.
You like to air out, don't you?
Just like have a little moment. Yeah. And then the next one starts.
Bit of cleansing.
Yeah, I think you need that.
Cleanse the palate.
We're a little bit contradictory with each other on that, aren't we? So I've listened to a lot of albums where sort of like there's ambience and then there's the next song, like, so there's almost no gap. Rage Against the Machine used to do it every now and then, where they play a song and it would
flow into the next one almost.
Yeah.
I've always wondered how.
And sometimes you can't even tell the next song started, especially if you're not paying full attention.
Very carefully about how to do that, and I think like the final note of the song and how you get into the next one is actually really crucial when you do that. There was a couple of opportunities we could have done that with the EP, but I think ultimately Hen sort of overruled. And in fact, it was it was a majority decision actually, because my side of the fence was we should try and get these couple of songs to flow because they would fit together if we put something in between them. And Hen was like, no, I want there to be air between those two songs. So ultimately, we just left the decision to everybody and said, what do you want to do? And majority rules in our band. So we ended up leaving air. But actually looking back, it is the right decision. Like I'm probably the happiest with anything we've ever released with this EP.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it sort of is blood, sweat and beers is what we called it.
Nice.
Because that's essentially what it was.
Yeah.
Like the time in the studio was lots of sweating. Blood is like us putting our blood into it, I suppose.
There was a bit of blood.
Yeah.
There was a bit of blood.
Yeah.
And obviously there was a lot of beers
too. Yeah.
So.
Where was the blood from?
Well, it's quite an in-depth story, but I had a little moment where like it was like life or death for me for a moment, and like a lot of blood, blood wasn't there? There was a lot of blood.
Do you want to tell the story? Do you want me to?
I fell into a fish tank.
It's funny, but it's also literally like
you almost died.
Very nearly died.
Very nearly, yeah. Whoa. So I got out of a hot tub, all soft and like like I was just in my pants and
happy.
Wet. Yeah,
happy and
soft and wet.
Yeah, and then I went out to do a pee in the garden and just slipped straight on this fish tank, sliced myself in half basically. Yeah, it was brutal. It's a gnarly scar, isn't it?
Man.
Yeah, it was. I've got the photos on my phone.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
It's bad.
It's gnarly. But yeah,
so you had to go to the hospital.
Oh yeah. I had surgery, everything. Yeah, it was
brutal,
touch and go for a minute for me.
Where was you cut?
Right on my back,
On your
right
back?
here. Yeah.
I'll see if I can find the photos while we're talking about it. But
that part of it, I guess, like.
So did you feel like that actually had like a really big impact on you?
Hugely.
So you like appreciated your life, sort of had a bit of an epiphany.
100%. Yeah.
Mate, I think those epiphanies in life
quite graphic.
Yeah.
Do you a lot of good, Mass, right? Mate, that's freaking brutal, isn't it? The way that you can sort of see.
Oh, that is.
Do you mind if we show the camera? Hat?
Yeah.
No, you carry on.
Put it up. Do you know, look at this.
Yeah, of course you can, dude.
That's Hen's battle wounds, everyone.
Oh, what am I? Which one? Which camera? Oh yeah, that camera.
Can you see that clear?
Oh,
mate, it's gone black.
Oh, sorry, bro. Do you want the numbers? You got it.
Oh, look at that. You can kind of see that on the camera.
Yeah, that looks brutal, man.
But I remember visiting your hospital. One of the first things you told me was the paramedics said it was lucky that you'd put a bit of weight on because it would have killed you.
If I was skinny, I'd be dead, was what he said. So yeah.
So you like what? So you hit some like arteries or it? And like
I went through all the meat. All
Right.
the meat. I didn't hit any organs, luckily.
Yeah.
I was close.
But if there was less meat.
If I was less meat, then it would have been organs all the way.
Yeah, it'd have been done.
So, yeah.
That's
the blood part of the blood, sweat and beers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Are you like 100% recovered now?
Oh, mate, yeah.
How long ago was it?
Sounds about 4 years ago now.
Oh, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time.
There's a lyric in Driving Blind that is elbow dropped a fish tank.
Elbow dropped a fish tank.
So did you feel like you like appreciated life like instantly more after that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
You looked in almost like a profound state the first time I saw you after it happened. You were very it was like 2 days after. You'd had your surgery and been stitched up and things, and we were allowed to see you at that point.
Yeah.
And obviously I remember going into the hospital and you know, like I was just glad you were alive, really.
Yeah.
And just seeing you, and you looked still like 2 days later shocked. Like it kind of looked like it had registered that actually you nearly died.
There was a moment where I thought, yeah. For sure.
So was there like anyone there? Did they get the ambulance quite quick? I can imagine like panicking.
It was in Stagursey, wasn't it?
It was rapid. They were there.
It was in Stagursey?
So my mate's house. I don't know if you know Dave, but I was around Dave's house. He's got a hot tub.
Calum.
And we were having a few drinks. And when it happened, I think because I'd had a few drinks, I sort of crawled in and I was like, I think I'm bleeding. And
you just got up and got back in the hot tub?
No, I didn't get back in the hot tub. I sort of crawled back into the room.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry, yeah.
And they were like, no shit.
That's bad. That's serious.
Yeah. Luckily, his sister's a nurse and they got straight onto it, mate. And they were just like plugging me and just making sure that...
That's a good thing that she was a nurse, mate. Yeah. That might have been the difference between life or death. You never know.
But when the ambulance guys turned up, they were just like taking photos going, whoa, no way.
I got that same reaction.
Yeah.
They're like, quickly get this guy to hospital.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They're like, gnarly, dude.
But they gave me this like blood thickening agent to sort of like slow it
coagulate
down,
the blood.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
It was the craziest moment of my life. Yeah.
I think there's something very sobering in the long run does you good about being aware of your mortality.
Yeah.
Doesn't there? And I think like we're still like, well, for like adults, we're still relatively youngish.
Yeah.
But also we're old enough now that we're aware of our mortality.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you got, like, I mean, I remember like all the way through my teens and my early 20s, it's like you don't even conceive that you're mortal.
No.
Do you?
No, you think you're invincible, don't you?
And you think back some of the stupid stuff you used to do with your mates. I remember like, I know it sounds like stupid, like hilarious, but like almost like, you know, you play like Jackass or Dirty Sanchez with your mates, and some of the things that you would do. I remember like jumping off the roof of buildings. And I think back now and sometimes think, how didn't I break both my legs? Or I remember once getting my mates to increasingly kick me harder in the head. Over and over again, just to see how much of a hard kick I could take in the head without almost like getting KO'd.
Yeah.
Think back on stuff like that. It's like, mate, I'm lucky I'm not a carrot.
What were we doing?
Yeah, but like as like now, I just think, man, like, nah, I'm not going to do stuff like that now. No, do you know what I mean? I'm just 100% unwilling.
Yeah.
You know, I think once you have like kids and you're in your 30s and stuff, you think back on stuff like that and you're like, that is so stupid.
Yeah.
It sounds obvious that it's stupid.
Yeah. I don't know what your daughter's like, but mine's crazy.
Mine's crazy.
So like, she does things and I'm like, because she's unaware of her own mortality, you know, and I imagine, dude, it's stressful. As a dad, you're like, oh my gosh, you know.
You think back at some of the stuff that you have been through and how lucky you feel that you didn't get permanent damage from it, but you realise that there are people that do. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's like sometimes you just think, oh, please don't lose an eye today, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
stressful.
100%.
Do you guys want to answer some questions?
Hit me.
Yeah, of course, dude.
Go for it.
There's anything like profound, but I think they're just interesting.
Yeah, dude.
We'll go round. What's your favourite colour, Joe?
Blue.
Yeah? Has that always been your favourite colour, do you think?
Like a blue, between blue and green. I'd say
a turquoise?
that kind of sort of.
Oh, mate, nice.
Blue green.
Oh, like a
Caribbean ocean, mate.
On that poncho, on your chair.
Like Drew's poncho.
Yeah, dude. That's
we put it there just for Joe.
Like peacock blue, you know?
Yeah.
What about you, Han?
I'm a red man.
A red?
For sure, yeah.
Any particular shade of red? Like
blood
red?
United red.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or what my first guitar, which Joe, it used to be your guitar, didn't it?
Yeah, and then you snapped yours in half.
What guitar was that?
It's a Fender Telecaster.
Was that the one that you were playing at the last gig?
No, so that's my white Strat, but I still have it. I used to play the red Telly. That red, I think, is my favourite red. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
like that lid, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
I think it's candy apple red for any guitar nerd.
Oh,
nice, man.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Maybe a little darker.
Yeah.
What about you, Drew? What's your favourite colour?
I don't know really. I quite like all colours apart from.
I like all colours.
He's like Joseph.
I quite like colours, but you know the is it like maroon when it's like a kind of red,
like a red wine,
red.
sort of like a red wine, but a bit more purple.
Really, that's
purple,
like really nice.
yeah.
But I like more kind of naturey colours, like they're a bit softer, like pastely, earthy kind
colours.
of.
I like pastels.
Yeah.
What about you, Cal?
I'd probably say like a forest green or something like that.
Yeah, that's what you. Yeah,
Green
like a
man.
big, like a racing green. Like
Yeah,
dark,
like a Jaguar racing green or something like that.
You
You
see
know.
that.
Yeah, man. If you could be someone for a day, dead or alive, who would you be, Joe?
We come back to me.
Yeah, it's fine, man. The thing is, some of these are hard to answer on the spot, so don't feel like you know.
I'll be Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'd just go
everywhere.
running. I would run like hell, man. Yeah, you should. Yeah.
And I just kept on running.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure. That's who I would be.
I love how just quickly that came to you as well. Hen.
Yeah, dude.
What about you, Drew? Do you reckon?
I'd be Aaron Tate for a day just because of that. Do you remember that podcast I was saying I was...
Andrew Tate.
Andrew, that's it. Sorry, I don't even know his
Aaron
name.
Tate.
Aaron Tate.
Just some different
random
picture.
guy
Doesn't
called Aaron
even know
Tate.
who he is. I mean, a guy I don't know who he
Only
is.
because like I didn't know much about him, and then you
Mate,
see
he's in
hear
prison
all of
at the
this
moment.
stuff. Is he?
He's just been put in prison.
Right, I don't want to be in at the moment. When he was out and I saw him on this podcast like 11 days ago or something, that sounded pretty cool. He's jet setting all around the world, and that seemed pretty cool.
Nice.
So, with dead or alive, so are you getting their mindset, or are you putting your mind into that person?
I think that the way I almost like see it is that you would almost like have your mind, but you would also understand the way that person's mind works.
Oh, that's cool.
And then you could walk around that person's body.
Yeah.
So you'd experience their life.
Be cool
but
to
you'd
do-
also understand. So like,
Genghis Khan.
one thing I think would be I was going to say
someone like Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, I was
going to
say,
just
like,
getting in and going like,
I was
why?
literally was going to say Hitler because
Yeah.
to him, even as twisted as it seemed, it must have somehow made sense.
Yeah.
And I would want to see how it made sense
Which
in
is
his
a bitter
head.
man, wasn't he? Like looking back at history, he was a real bitter artist who was shunned and was a bit of a crap soldier.
Yeah.
And basically thought that it was everyone else's fault.
Yeah.
And he couldn't take any responsibility for who he was. And I think he just tried to blame everything on everyone, and he hit the sort of political scene at a really poignant time, didn't he? Where Germany was absolutely crushed.
Yeah. And I think with Hitler, he was great at propaganda, but everything else he was rubbish at.
Yeah.
So like, you never know. Germany might have even won if it wasn't for the fact he had such ridiculous ideas. I don't know if you guys have heard it on the pod before, but I know we talked a long time ago about how he wanted to make this like tank that was like the size of like a football pitch.
Yeah.
And they were just like, no, because it might look cool, but it would just get bombed
Such a
to
big
smithereens.
target,
And it's like the maintenance on a machine like that would just be insane. Like in terms of like,
Yeah,
it would just
didn't he like
cripple economies.
throw like 90% of his aircraft at the UK at one point or something stupid?
Yeah,
and like
maybe something like
just
that.
like no tactical nous whatsoever.
Well, obviously,
battle,
his idea to sort of open up the Eastern Front and just attack Russia. I mean, that was obviously like ridiculously
Stupid
bad,
idea.
Strategic move.
I remember seeing on Joe Rogan podcast this video of him like tweaking as well on loads of drugs.
Oh mate, he was
he
was off his head on drugs.
Yeah.
I think that's at the
at the Olympics.
36 Olympics or something.
I saw that
Yeah.
video. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, tripping balls.
Crazy.
Yeah, because
Amphetamines.
mate, he was like off his head like pretty much 24/7 on him.
Yeah,
Just
That's
on
if you ever
probably
look at any of his
part of it.
speeches, he's like,
he's tweaking, isn't he?
Like kicking
He's
off.
full on tweaking, man.
Yeah.
Like full on tweaking.
Off his
Like,
nut.
Is that your answer, by the way? You Hitler?
I don't know if I could go that dark, man. That's pretty deep. But,
Be
like
interesting.
it's someone's mind that would be interesting to see sort of where he's at in terms of like why he did what he did. Like someone like Henry VIII would be kind of cool, you know?
yeah. I feel like that would almost be like
I'd love
more
to have some
simple.
titties for a day as
Yeah.
well. That'd be nice.
I think
A
Henry VIII
really
is
hot
like-
chick.
Just play with your boobs all day,
Yeah.
wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think Henry VIII was like an interesting figure in terms of like, obviously, like at the end of the day, not a very nice guy, but also hilarious.
Yeah.
The idea that he just like wanted to like divorce his missus so he could get
How
with
much
this
you
other
like chicken?
chick. And then the Catholic Church was like, no, that's not. So he was like, I'm just going to start my own religion.
Yeah.
That's like
Well, what
such
am I
a
gonna do?
baller thing
What
to
a
do.
baller thing to do.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well,
Church of England.
I'll keep the
Boom.
church, but I'm just going to make it so I can divorce whatever I want.
And then just like literally just went through all these wives.
Yeah.
And just like made up excuses to like have them off so he could get with like the next young chick.
Yeah, dude.
And like just couldn't have a son, but then just kept blaming it on the women.
Yeah.
I mean, awful in reality.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
also
gotcha.
there's the juvenile part of my brain does think it's a bit funny.
It was a
But
different
all
time though as
respect-
well,
yeah,
wasn't it? You
yeah.
know,
But
that's
obviously,
totally different time that's
yeah.
where that's almost acceptable for a king.
And I think obviously enough time has passed that we can probably laugh about it, but obviously awful that for 20 of those women actually did die.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like the Salem witch trials and things. Like looking back at those, they're so savage, but also like, what were they thinking? Like, how do you win that? Right, if you sink, fair enough, you're not a witch. But if you come back up, you're a witch and we'll kill you anyway. Don't win.
Doomed if you do. Doomed if you don't.
Never win.
Well, did you hear about like they had like certain things rigged? Like they had like it was almost like a knife, but imagine instead of like a blade on the handle, it was almost like it was like a nail.
Yeah.
But they had them rigged, so they would go to like stab the witches, the suspected witches, and they would say that if there wasn't a mark, it would show that they were witches because like Satan was instantly healing their wounds. But it was like a prop, so it would just go into the handle when they would go to like stab the women. Right. So they would be like, "Oh, yep, you're a witch, right? Let's burn her."
Yeah.
But it's like that's just straight. That's not even like being a religious nutball. That's just straight up just being and that's also you're just like a really bad person.
Naughty.
You're like inventing that to deliberately go around
killing women. Essentially.
Yeah. It's like brutal.
It's so mental with that as well. How like that tribal mind state of people where enough people get behind something that it's just they're all like burner. Like
it's like that sort of sheep mentality.
I find
isn't it?
that mental. Like because it hasn't been proven that people like are quite like that easily. Like if someone in a lab coat tells you to electrocute.
There was a Darren Brown episode. Did you see that? And it was like. Basically, it was documented that they had like a kitten in like a jar or something, and it was like
in a jar.
No, it was like in a fish tank, but it didn't have any water in it, obviously, and it was basically like the guy in the coat. Yeah, he came in a lab coat, and then he would go into a different room, but there was like a speaker, and then he would just basically say that they had to like press a buzzer to like kill the kitten, and obviously it didn't really kill the kitten, but for all intents and purposes, they thought that it would. And it was like something ridiculous, like 4 out of 5 people just did it. It's like mad.
We did that one where they pushed someone off a tall building as well.
Yeah, I saw that one as well.
Experiments and stuff. We've seen him live. Me and you.
We did.
Been and seen Darren Brown.
I remember, and he did this big bit at the end where I can't remember what he was doing, but everyone had to stand up. Everyone was silent, and he was doing his big piece on the stage. He was trying to hypnotize people. I don't know. I can't remember what it was now, but it was his big moment at the end, like an encore thing, and someone just farted and just ruined the whole thing. It farts again. Can you remember that?
Mate, that is
was it you, Henry? Was it that first or second one? On the microphone, like,
no, but it honestly, but it ruined it for me because like I was so I think you had to have your eyes closed as well, like stand up.
You were feeling the ambiance, the intensity.
Then someone over there just like
yeah. That's so cool.
And then everyone just cracked up. Everyone
the
just
power
ruined it.
of the fart, man. That's crazy how it actually ruined it like that.
I know, and that's why I had to bring it on to the pod.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
man.
there's nothing funnier than a fart, is there?
No, it's literally it is absolutely hilarious.
This is the thing, isn't it? Like if you're offended by farts, then I don't know, like. Everyone does them, don't they? You can either find them really funny or be miserable about it.
Yeah. My nan doesn't even know she's doing them now.
I know what you mean. yeah. Every step's a new one. Yeah, that's brilliant, man. That's brilliant,
dude.
Mm-hmm. You might, as I said, you might not be able to think of something.
Did you guys do the? You didn't actually.
So are you going with Hitler?
Oh God, I don't know if I'm that.
I think that's a pretty Henry VIII.
I was just they're both pretty bad, aren't they? Pretty genocidal.
If you were going with Henry VIII, you'd probably get more nookie.
Henry is.
And who are you, man?
Oh, I don't know. Again, I reckon like some sort of like historical figure, because it'd be interesting apart from anything else to experience the time as well as the person. So probably like, I don't know, someone like Alexander the Great or something like that.
That'd be pretty baller,
wouldn't it?
It'd be Jesus.
Well, he existed, didn't he? He definitely existed.
Yeah.
Like three or four faiths. Like there's Isa in Muslim culture. There's obviously, he's not worshipped as a prophet in Judaism.
Yeah, and in Judaism, for sure, man. Yeah, I mean,
that'd be hella interesting.
I always wonder, like, obviously you like hear about like cults and stuff like that, and then it's something about certain people, isn't it? It's like, like Charles Manson, like had his cult, didn't he, in Hollywood, and he like convinced that those people. So what was her name? There's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that Quentin Tarantino movie. Margot Robbie plays her, but they changed the ending in the very Tarantino way without getting into spoilers. But in reality, the Manson cult went and killed the woman, the actress. She was like a well-known actress, wasn't she, in Hollywood? And she was pregnant at the time. And I think they even
savage.
They like cut out the baby or something, or just something disgusting, man.
Yeah, it's
but it's like, it's the fact. I find it so crazy that there are people out there that have this. Well, it's a bit like Hitler. They have this weird ability, this almost a magnetism, and that they can convince people that formerly were like normal people, didn't have like criminal records or anything, and then within years of being with this cult leader, you can convince that person to go and murder a pregnant woman. Yeah, like a beautiful pregnant young woman.
Yeah. Do you think that's like a charisma thing, or do you think that's like?
I think we're like so adaptable as humans as well. Like,
but like in a bad way sometimes.
If you're in a situation where you're surrounded by that much stuff, and you know what I mean, and you're just there with it all the time. Do you reckon
it's a bit like
it will change you a bit? Like,
do you reckon it's a bit like maybe some people are in such need of like direction in their lives that as long as somebody is directing you with enough conviction, your brain is almost like
I don't have to think about what I need to do. I just almost like blindly follow this person, and everything.
It's like
makes
releasing
sense.
dopamine or something. And as long as the person is doing a good enough job of being like, this is what you need to do, this is your purpose, and we're doing it for this reason.
Yeah, beliefs have power as well, man. Don't you? Like extremist views and stuff. It's like if enough people think that you can literally believe that it's true, like, even though it's blatantly not true.
Like fanatical, like religious people. Yeah, they don't. It's like to us, some of the things they do seems like mental.
There's
but
like
to them,
no leeway in it. It's just that is that, and you can't even say anything. Yeah, like, it's so close.
To them, it's clear cut. It's as normal as needing to drink and eat or sleep. It's just like that's the way it is. Yeah, no, crazy, man.
Did you choose one?
Yeah, I said Alexander the Great.
Oh yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
And another one I reckon would be really cool is Dynamo.
Yeah, the magician.
Yeah, because they do some weird stuff, man. When I watch those, I'm like,
well, like we were saying, Darren Brown would be a good one. Yeah, because he's almost like a magician in his own way.
Clever, man. Psychologically, he's just like streets above.
But then
everyone.
like Dynamo does like these weird stuff where he like, do you see him lift that weight? And what was it like?
140 kilos.
140
and he's
kilos.
like tiny guy, isn't he?
Tiny skinny arms.
He's really sickly, isn't he? He's got like a lot of medical issues.
Yeah.
The thing I love about Darren Brown though is that he openly admits that
everything he does is a ruse.
Psychological.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, that almost makes it even more impressive.
100%. He dropped. So he actually got me once with. So I was watching a TV show, and at the end of the show, he said like,
when you participate.
He said so before one of the ad breaks, he said at the end, before one of the ad breaks, I put in a subliminal message. So if you phoned your mum during that ad break, and I was like,
did you?
My mum, man. Yeah, honestly, I phoned my mum. She was honestly, it was weird, man. She was on her way home from, I can't remember where she was, but I was like,
cool, man.
How long are you going to be, mum? She was like, oh, not that long. What do you want? And I was like, nothing, I just want to see how long you'd be or whatever. Like, it was a completely pointless phone call as well.
Yeah.
That's cool,
honestly,
man.
It was just like phone your mum, like, and then gone. But I've never experienced anything like that ever because, I think I'm a bit of a skeptic.
Yeah, I think it's good to be a healthy skeptic.
But I think like, it was just really strange. I was like, oh, damn it, I phoned my mum. Like, he got me.
But that's the good thing about Darren Brown. It's like you can't, like, do you know what I mean? He's a skeptic as well. He's just showing, it's almost like trick codes to the brain. Yeah. That's what's so cool about it, isn't it? That's mad.
Yeah, man. Well, when we went to watch him that day, like, he was doing this thing where he was like, I can't remember, he was trying to hypnotize someone. And he was like, there's someone in the audience that doesn't believe, and I know I can feel it. There's a presence. And I was there thinking, I think that might be me.
Yeah.
And that's what he does to you, isn't it?
And then
everyone who felt like that was probably going, that's me.
The weirdest thing was, he was like, it's you. And he's pointing right at me. And my whole heart sank.
Whoa.
He was pointing at the guy behind me. He made him get up on stage and he hypnotized the guy and he couldn't read or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah. He couldn't read the letters on the page.
Man.
I thought it was me.
But in reality, what he probably did was gave him a piece of paper that was jumbled up or whatever, and then convinced him that it was that he couldn't read. The
hypnosis thing is crazy. Like, I don't know how, like, why some people are way more susceptible to others. Like, someone tried
agreeability, maybe.
Someone tried to do it on me once, and it just didn't work at all. But then, like, my sister got up on stage at this thing in Egypt or something. It was like they had a person doing a show.
Was that Sherelle?
Yeah. And she was literally like going around the stage, flopping around, pretending she was a fish and stuff, and just couldn't remember any of it. It was just like totally out there,
Wow,
and it's like
so good.
so weird how some people are more susceptible than others.
I think that is the way the human mind works, though, isn't it? I think everyone's susceptible in some way to some things and not to others.
I think we're all, regardless of how much you genuinely don't want to be as well, I think we're all sort of biased in our own way.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's necessarily a bad thing, but obviously it's like we have our people that we like know we can trust. Mm-hmm. And you're obviously going to be shaped in some ways, by your parents, by the other people that you grew up with as a child, 100%. By your close friends, by the media you choose to take in regularly, and regardless of you can be genuinely the fairest person in the world and want to be straight down the middle as you can possibly be, but we're all going to be a bit biased, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely,
100%.
Yep.
All right, so some more questions then, guys. If you knew the world was going to end in 24 hours, what would you do?
Oh, geez, man, that's horrendous.
I would drink, take drugs, and go to Bone Town.
Mate, to be honest, I'm Hen. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
do all the things I love.
Yeah. Drink, drugs, Bone Town.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, mate. I mean, that's a pretty good answer, man. That's a pretty good answer. What about you, fellas? Do you reckon?
Oh, dude, it's such a difficult.
It is a hard one, isn't it?
I mean, hopefully you're never in that situation, but just hug my child for 24 straight hours, probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm torn between that and Hen's answer.
Yeah, and actually,
The problem is you can't do them both.
No, you can't.
At the same time.
No,
not at all.
It'd be super weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Maybe really freaking weird, man.
Yeah, dude.
Stop looking at me.
Maybe you could just allocate 12 hours to one, 12 hours to the other, I think.
Or because you couldn't do an hour on and off.
I don't think you go to bed, would you?
Keep coming back to your kid increasingly more messed up. The last hour, you're just like...
Yeah, man.
I don't know, since I've become a dad, I can't think about things like that. Just breaks you.
I find that so interesting as well. I remember you talking about it, man. Like we had a bit of a J after a night out, and you were
it was
saying
after the last Death by Kai gig, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you were saying that you couldn't describe the love that you had for your daughter. Like
changes things.
It's another level, isn't it? It's another level of love.
It's really intriguing for me, to have not experienced that yet. To know that that's a human thing that's possible to experience. That's just one of these rad things.
It's a completely different type of love, isn't it, than any love that you could have for a woman or a family member, isn't it, or a close friend?
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because everyone drops these cliches at you, and when you haven't got kids, you're like, sounds so
you need
cliche.
to experience it to
you think
when you have
do.
your child, someone goes, you'll never love anything like you love your own child, and I expect Drew's sat there going, whatever, man, I love smoking doobs, but
I definitely love smoking doobs,
but it's that thing, isn't it? You as soon as your human is in your arms, you're like,
and it's mad how you can be having a day when your kid is on the worst form possible and it's doing your head in and you're thinking, man, I need to get out of the house, I can't wait to go to work, whatever. But then as soon as you're away from your kid for just I don't know, 8 hours, say, you are dying to get back to your kid, aren't you?
Yeah.
And it's any annoyance is completely just gone, and all you think about is how much you love your kid and how much you just can't wait to get home. And if you know they say it's going to be past their bedtime when you get back, just to quickly pop in their room and just look at their little face sleeping, and that's you just looking forward to getting home just for that, and it's just mad, isn't it? It's mad how visceral that is.
It's strange because obviously you never really think about things like that, do you, until you're a parent, you know?
And my kid was a happy accident as well.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. We're so fertile, man.
I know.
So manly.
Michael Phelps. But I don't know, it's strange because like I said, all the cliches are totally true, and there's obviously a reason why they exist, because it is the way it is,
I can't remember who I was talking to about this, but I think a lot of the cliches that adults tell you when you're a kid growing up that you at the time think are so lame, you do realise are true when you get older.
I know.
And it's so frustrating because once you're an adult and you're on the other side of it, you think, if only they'd listen.
Yeah.
But when you're a kid, but you know it's fair enough, because you know that when you're a kid, you didn't care for what they. You just thought,
screw you, Dad.
Yeah. You just thought, what do you want about, man?
Yeah.
You're just so full of rubbish.
School years are the best years of your life. Shut up.
Nah. Yeah. That's a perfect example, isn't it?
100%.
I remember I was one of those. In school, I would be like, can't wait to leave school.
Yeah.
It's such a moody little git.
Everyone's the same, man, when they're young. I don't think there's ever a child at school that's I really don't want to leave school.
I just don't think you realise how
free you are almost.
You have no responsibilities.
Yeah.
You can go home, you sit in your room, you play your PlayStation or whatever.
Because you feel completely trapped at the time. You're like, I don't want to be here this day, so I have to go every day.
Yeah.
But then
hang
it's
out
like,
with your mates.
Yeah, you were pretty much
chill.
hanging out with your mates and learning stuff. Like now, I like love learning stuff. Like just in my free time,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if someone tells you something you've never heard before, now you're like,
great.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah,
you know,
that's funny. I mean, even like with this show and that. I mean, it's obviously we're complete idiots, so we talk a lot of rubbish. But we also, it's like it's fun to debate some really deep stuff and talk about some really interesting things, which is like, worthy of sort of any school textbook.
100%. And I don't know about you, Hennes, but like when I listen to the pod, I think, that's really cool. Like, and I learn stuff.
Yeah, mate, that's great.
I hear things and I go, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
and it's kind of cool.
It's cool because like it has everything. This is why we love it so much. It's factual. It's like it's entertaining. It's informative. It's funny. Like you guys, I think you guys are awesome, man.
Oh, cheers, man.
Yeah,
we think the same.
Got a little shiver then. That was real nice. Thank you.
Well, I think
I really appreciate it.
It's like for guys like yourself and the way that you write your songs and your band and everything. It's like we're obviously the same in terms of our sense of humor. It's like even when we're taking stuff seriously, we're not really taking stuff seriously. And it's like doesn't mean that we're not actually taking it seriously, but we can't almost like, or at least not for long, we can't get rid of that comedic element because it's just too fun just to be silly, isn't it?
Oh yeah. 100%,
well, life isn't serious, is it? Like, you can make it as serious as you want, but in reality, like we're all here for a finite amount of time. We're definitely going to die. You can either enjoy every moment or you can like take things really seriously. And it's
do you know? Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like just on the subject of school, two things I really disagreed with at school. I remember one thing that wasn't a specific memory. It's something that I just got told regularly, and another thing I remember that Mr. Watkins specifically told me. I can't remember if it was in year 7 or year 8. Pretty nice guy on the whole, I thought, Mr. Watkins. But he, depending on his mood, sometimes.
Which one was that? Was it?
He was an older guy, ex-rugby teacher. Yeah, he was a history teacher. But I think he would do other lessons as well sometimes.
Who was the guy who did IT? He's real miserable.
Scowcroft.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Mr. Watkins was way nicer.
I thought he was. Sorry, Watkins, really big guy, bold.
He wasn't that big, was he? No, he was bold, on top, wasn't he? Older guy.
I thought he was a cool dude.
I think he used to he'd teach in Hago for something like, since it was like Dr. Morgan's or something like that. He was like one of those guys. Apparently he was a really good rugby player back in his day. Yeah, but he was like Welsh, but he didn't have the strongest Welsh accent. Can you remember who I'm talking about?
I do remember.
But you don't remember who I'm on about.
I feel like I do. Maybe I've got like a couple of people confused.
Everyone always used to joke that he was having an affair with Mrs. Ramsey.
Yep.
Oh yes, I remember him.
You don't remember this?
No.
Was that Wheeler and Ramsey?
Yeah, it was Wheeler. It was Wheeler.
Yeah.
That was Wheeler.
I swear it was both of them, wasn't it?
Oh,
I swear people were. I could have sworn.
Double team in a row.
I'm thinking about the RE teacher, and then she actually did
and then she ended up
marry
with him.
Yeah, that was Mr. Wooderson.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Miss
Smith.
No, Miss Smith. Miss Smith. Yeah,
Wooderson Smith.
Yeah, and then they got married, didn't they?
Miss Ramsey used to love me.
Did she?
In the cupboard as well.
With Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Watkins.
No, but
shit.
I remember I writ this like real, like how you write like love letters and stuff in school.
Oh, mate.
I was like going out with this girl who was like a couple of years older than me, and I was in year 8. And
who was that?
This girl called Tara, and she used to live in Cannington.
Yeah.
And like, I was like writing in this letter, and I was like, oh, and you can give me this dance, and you take your top off, like being all like, like a bit dodgy, just like, and I remember like, Mrs. Ramsey came over and she just took it off the table and just like read it, and I was like, no, like
Do you reckon she got hot?
And but like
she was wishing it was
she never actually told me off. She was like, this is very shocking that you're reading. What's. Don't you think you shouldn't be exploring things like this at your age? Really,
erotic novel.
Like, I know you're a nice guy. A nice boy though. So like, I'm not gonna give you any trouble or anything like that. And then I remember since then, she was just always really sound with me. And
Change
your
name at the bottom to Wheeler. You read it out loud.
Did you guys ever play that game called Nervous with a girl?
Oh, dude, I've got such a good story about that.
It's a game like if you and a girl like each other, this is like a really silly game that you play when you're like in year 8.
Yeah.
So you're allowed to go anywhere with your hands until they say nervous, right? So there's this girl
Mate,
who like
that's such a hilarious game.
This girl kind of liked me, so she just let me touch her up while I was just there, just like dribbling, going, it was like, this is so cool. I love this. And then like when it was, she never really said nervous. And then when it came to my turn,
until it got to the butt.
yeah. But when it came to my turn, like she had her hands on me, and then she went down to undo my zip, and I went nervous.
Oh mate, I love that.
My story's really similar. I'm not going to tell it. It's very similar.
But yeah, getting back to my little serious story about Mr. It's very hilarious now because we went on some real funny things, and it's like not comedic at all.
I'm just going to do a quick wee break because I've drank way too much Gatorade.
Cool, man.
We'll wait for you, Hen, until we tell the story, man. So I'll wait for Hen until we tell the story.
That's cool.
Do you remember Mr. Rigby?
Yeah, is he a DT guy?
I used to really like Mr. Rigby. He had like
a half a thumb.
Yeah. I always find it like really
I'm
crazy.
pretty sure, did he
die of
he
cancer
passed
or
away,
something?
didn't he? While we were
Yeah,
I think we were in year 11, and he died. Yeah, he died, didn't he?
Didn't he didn't he like all of his because he was the head of year? No, he was the head of
DT.
M in our. He was the head, the tutor. That's it, the tutor for M in our year, and he just wanted all of them to call him Bob, and I remember thinking that was really sound. That was his first name, Bob Rigby, and he was like,
yeah.
And I remember thinking he seemed like he was probably the soundest tutor of any tutor group in our year. Like you'd see that they were all like real close to him, like all of that, like they'd be like, oh, Rick, Bob, and that, and he just seemed like a really nice fella.
I think there's no reason not to be nice as a teacher. Like I just don't really understand. I think some people go into teaching for the wrong reason, or certainly used to. They go into for the wrong reasons. Maybe they were like bullied at school and they just wanted to...
Almost like a bit of a power trip. Like you know that you can like...
it's almost that control, isn't it? And maybe they're not used to having that.
Are there any like kids though that you like really despise sometimes, and you just say, "Oh, I freaking hate you"?
It's never. It's a strange one, isn't it? Because it's never necessarily the kid. It's the behaviour,
right?
And that's not always their choice. Sometimes it's like a product of upbringing. Sometimes it's a product of the environment, situation, and like from my point of view, like it's a lot of effort to hate and despise anybody, isn't it?
Oh yeah, man.
Like, and I certainly like kids as well, like they'll grow out of it and they'll look back and be like, I was a bit of a tit at school, like
it's almost like how can you nurture a different attitude from them or something?
For me, the one thing I not command but expect and would give to everybody is respect. Like that's a basic thing for me. That's where I draw the line. As soon as like kids are being disrespectful, I'm like, look, I can't have you in the room. I don't want you being disrespectful in this room. Like everybody else can manage it, and you're being disrespectful.
That's a key principle.
Yeah, I think that's the difference probably between like guys like us four, and then I'm sure we can think of examples in our years and stuff. Like you knew that there were some people that were almost like going out of their way to be disrespectful. Like we were never rude. Like that. We were just really naughty.
Yeah.
There's a massive difference.
Yeah, it's that silliness. It's not disrespect. It's silliness. It's boisterous, silly.
Never wanted to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
Never wanted
and
to.
And that whole like pushing the boundaries thing, like that's a natural thing that you should do really in all.
And of course, you
anyways,
sometimes accidentally hurt people's feelings, but there's no malice behind it. And then hopefully you can explain that and make it up to that person. So, I know for me, there were definitely times because I had quite an extreme sense of humour and I would do just really stupid stuff in school. And I would sometimes accidentally upset somebody.
Yeah.
I remember once accidentally making a girl that I got on with cry just because I thought I was like bantering too hard at her.
Yeah.
And then she just started crying. And then it was almost like to me, I remember thinking like,
oh, I don't want to do that.
Why are you crying? And then I was like, instantly, I'm really, really sorry. I didn't even like dawn on me for a second that she could be like upset by what I was saying.
Yeah. I think the best thing you can do is acknowledge it and apologise and just be a man about it. That's it,
100%, man. Yeah,
I think that's the only thing you can do, really.
Yeah, well, that's what I tried to do, and it never happened again. And I also think with age and maturity comes this. And when you're a teenager, I don't know about you guys, but I couldn't really very well put myself in other people's shoes or understand what it was like to be of other people. I just thought. As I was saying earlier, you're sort of so busy doing, you don't think. So I was just being me, and I'm not really the sort of person that suffers from like anxiety or anything like that. And I guess to somebody that is and is maybe hyper conscious, when someone's like bantering with you hard, maybe you because of your anxiety or whatever, your paranoia, things like that, rather than seeing it as a joke, you're taking it far more seriously than the person that's bantering with you, and then as a result, they're taking it personally.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't really understand that, I guess, as a teenage boy.
There's a fine line, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a fine line.
For sure, man. But yeah, no, so get back to the point. I remember that I really disagreed with Mr. Watkins. I remember he had a right go at me in the class once because I was just mucking around. And I remember he pulled me to one side and he was like shouting at me and he said that like life is not a joke. And I remember that really stuck with me. And the older I got, the more I think about that and actually think like, I kind of get what you were saying, but I actually sort of disagree with that. And that's what you were saying earlier, Joe. It's like, you know, you don't have to take life seriously. Like life shouldn't be this dire, serious thing.
It's like the cosmic joke. Life
sort of what you make it, and your life's going to be a lot more enjoyable if
you're having fun.
Do you remember that Joe Rogan was talking about when he did like a DMT trip, and he was saying that all of like the kind of vision that he saw were these like L things or these beings, but they were all like full on just giving him the finger. Just millions, like endless geometric shapes. Yeah, I watched it the other day, him talking about it.
That's hilarious.
And it was just like really like, just like completely like giving him the finger.
Yeah.
And he was like, he said he went into this with like so much reverence and so much respect of this, like, of, you know, but he saw what that was showing him was that he was taking himself too seriously and almost like, because he said he got like, and when they were doing that in like the trip, he was like, his initial reaction was he was like super annoyed that like some, you know, it's almost like someone taking the mick out of you.
Yeah.
But then he like realized that he took himself too seriously, and then he said when he had that realization, they all of a sudden all changed and were like, hey. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like this thing of like, don't, even if you're just like insanely like on it and talented and like have all these things going and you're super regimented with your health and you know, you're on top of your game. Don't take yourself too seriously.
That reminds me a little bit of like some of the Czech tours we went on, because we really pushed the boundary sometimes in terms of like pranks we were doing to each other on those Czech tours.
God, we missed out on them, didn't we? Really?
Did you?
Just missed out. Yeah.
Oh man, brutal. But let's face it, if you're like 18 or 19 and you're hammered and you're in that, you know, you guys know better than anyone, you're in that guy group. There's like, you know, you're in like 6 or 7 guys. You're all wasted. It's just going to be piled on more.
Yeah,
and it's a bit like exactly what you're saying about Joe Rogan and the elves. It's like the moment you laugh along with your mates, you think, he's a good crack.
And it's happened to me as well.
It's almost like respect. I respect that person.
Yeah, and I used to take myself too seriously with things like that.
I think you used to do it a little bit.
Yeah. And it is like, and it's almost life's way of checking you and being like, you know,
you can get stroppy about it, or you can laugh and say, I'm going to get you back harder in a minute. You better run. And it's like much better to the second option.
Our band's a brutal band to be in for that sort of very thing, is it? You have to be able to take it.
Oh God, yeah.
And if you can't take it, more often than not, you don't last in this band.
No, you're right. Yeah.
And like we know how to sort of like take it, and like like you said, if you react to it in a certain way, you're going to get it a lot worse. Yeah.
Oh, 100%, man.
Big time.
Yeah, man.
I think Jay has experienced that, hasn't he? Like early doors. Yeah. We used to talk about his mum quite a bit. She's such a sweet, lovely lady, but we just are horrible people, aren't we? And
we are just horrible people. I love that.
And like, because Jay reacted early doors when we talked about how fit his mum is, like he snapped and he was like, don't talk about my mum.
But it's going to encourage you, isn't it?
Right. Now we're going to talk about your mum every time we see you. So he just like, for about a year, he would react, and then we just broke him. And then he was like, okay.
It's like breaking in a horse.
Sometimes it takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was the same thing with Joe on the tour. And as I said, you know, over the course of my life, Joe's like right up there, some of my, you know, best friends ever. But as I said, it just, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was like lack of sleep or what, but he was just reacting really badly just on that tour. I don't know what it was. But I said nothing but love and respect for Joe, and I know that he would, you know, probably think back and just like laugh at himself at it now. Do you know what I mean?
Do you remember? Sorry to interrupt you, but a similar sort of thing actually. Do you remember us at Shark Boy's house and you guys drew all over me when I'd fallen asleep? Yeah. So I was working really hard. I was working with my dad and we were fitting kitchens and like we're doing loads of lifting and stuff. And like in the, you know, like we were young lads, so we'd go to Shark Boy's house and then in the evening and like
420.
And then and then like, you know, I'd wake up on Shark Boy's floor, they're all still blazing up, and it'd be like 3 a.m. I'd be like, oh no, I gotta get up for work in like 3 hours, man. So I'd like get up to go home, and I'd usually have driven Soul Man out there because he didn't drive at the time, and like I looked at my face, I was covered in pen, and I was like, dude, can we get up in 3 hours and go to work? And I got like dicks all over my face. And like just like I was like, you guys are assholes, I'm out. Like so I got up, stormed out, got in my car, turned it on and just like reversed off the drive and started driving off, and Soul Man was like banging on. He was like, you took me out here, man, I can't get home. And I was like, yeah. Drove off, and he's like, I didn't even drive.
Completely innocent.
It wasn't even him. It was not him at all. It was everybody else, and I just left him there, ditched him off, and I just lost it.
Them do it.
It was God, man, incredible. Yeah, I remember that, me reacting real hard to that. It's incredible.
I think obviously we've all done it like a little bit.
Oh yeah, totally.
We used to have
a sound guy, didn't we, called Corns, and he had one bollock, and he never lived that down, mate. You can't tell us, lot, that you've only got one bollock, mate.
Yeah. He must have been our soundman for about 6 months.
Yeah.
That's brilliant,
got all too much, but
Broke
he should.
him.
Yeah, I mean, he should have just accepted it.
I think unless you're in the band or like you've really got a passion to stay in the band, you just get destroyed by us and you'll end up leaving.
Yep.
I think though, like the good thing about being with guys like yourselves though is that when you realise you're in that environment and there's like no holds barred, to me that's almost like a weight off your shoulders, because then it means that you're free to sort of do whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like what I was saying earlier on about how sometimes, those almost those restrictions of like adulthood.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't really do just.
I think it's that thing about like knowing where the line is when you're doing it at fun, or if there's any element of like cruelty or like you're doing it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where the line is.
Yeah,
if you're
100%.
doing it to like
banter.
Yeah, if it's bants, then it's all good. But if there's like that's where
I mean, like we talked about when he was real dark that time, like, and we just took him to tore strips off him or whatever. Like he didn't walk out of there and go home and be like, oh, they hate me. Like he walked out and I immediately phoned him like on his way home, and I was like, are you actually all right, dude? Like, because that's what,
you're a mate.
Yeah. You're not. At
the end of the day, you're bros.
We've rinsed him hard. We've torn strips off him, but actually,
you want to make sure he's not gonna.
We do care, really.
We
wanted to obviously make a joke out of it and lighten his mood and stuff. But like, I think that got him to a point where on the phone he was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm okay. Like, I needed that."
Thing is, if that on that day, if you guys had come up to me and put your arm around me and said, "Oh, it's okay,"
you'd have cried.
That wouldn't have worked.
I'd have been like,
yeah.
What's all this about? Get your hands off me.
Yeah.
Like, call me a prick or something.
Yeah, sure, man. Right, dude. I'm just trying to think of any more questions quickly to ask you guys before we wrap up.
There's got to be some, isn't there?
There's got to be some, isn't there? There's got to be some. Okay, this is quite an interesting one. Okay, if you woke up one day, and there was nobody else on the planet, what would you do? Like there was just nobody around. There was just nobody there.
That's it. Done. Like that's it.
Like society is like completely, everything. The buildings, everything is like still there, but there's just nobody.
Yeah.
Like what would you do?
I'd have some hell of fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just like because there is no restrictions, Ferraris, all that stuff,
Draw a face on a beach ball.
I think you'd get super lonely really quickly, wouldn't you?
You have to make a Wilson.
I would do like a massive ayahuasca ceremony. And then
I love how that's the first thing you do.
Yeah, like after the Ferraris and stuff, after I've done all those bits, then I'd have a massive trip, because then you'll be like in communication.
You'd have to be super careful at the same time though, wouldn't you? Because if you hurt yourself, there's no doctors, there's no like.
Oh man, I'd be on my back.
So you'd because you'd want to do all these really cool, dangerous things,
speedboats,
jet skis. I know.
But at the same time, you'd be like, actually, if I break an arm or a leg here, I'm done.
You'd be,
So you got to find a line there for sure. I think
it's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because you could, in some ways, you could do anything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would almost like suck because there's just nobody to enjoy
terrible.
it with.
Your knowledge would be like a limit as well of like how to like work things or do you know what I mean?
Well, I guess I don't even know how stuff like the electricity grid works in terms of like,
exactly.
without maintenance, how long would it last?
True.
Yeah.
You'd have to strip it right back to basics, wouldn't you?
You have to run a Jenny, wouldn't you? But but even then, if that breaks down,
got to break into the Jenny house.
I think you'd almost like want like a really like amazing almost like log cabin or something, because you knew in the long haul. And then like you would teach yourself while things were still good, teach yourself how to like grow vegetables well and how to farm animals.
But that loneliness thing, like you're saying, like did you see Into
You'd
the
be
Wild?
lost, wouldn't you?
That film Into the Wild, and that was the last thing.
You.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie Into the Wild?
Yes.
Yeah, and when he dies in the bus in Alaska when he gets out there. And then
he didn't learn how to survive properly, did he? Before he went?
He just ate the wrong berry.
He pretty much did. Like he was doing really well, but then
he die of starvation, didn't he?
Yeah, because of this one plant that he ate was super poisonous. But it looked like another plant. It made him not be able to take down any food.
Yeah,
so he just slowly, was just dying of starvation.
That's brutal, isn't it?
But the last thing he wrote was I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was along the lines of life isn't life unless it's shared or something.
I remember that.
He probably felt so lonely in his last moments, just in a freaking bus in the middle of nowhere.
Wishing that you were just with the people.
Great film, by the way.
Yeah, I love that film.
I've never seen the film. I know the story.
It's cool.
No, but I suppose we are like pack animals, though, aren't we? Humans,
social animals.
You have to have that level of sociability.
Yeah,
to a degree.
Yeah, I think to fully enjoy that moment when you're on your own, the last day on Earth or whatever you said, I think you need someone else there, really, don't you?
Yeah, 100%, dude.
It'd be tough on your own.
It's certainly you wouldn't just want to. Who would choose just to be on their own?
I know. That would be really sad.
Are we talking for the rest of your foreseeable, you
live
the rest of your life out?
You're going to live the rest of your life.
Yeah, because I could do a week, or probably.
I think the first week or two would be fine.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I'd go straight to the cinema.
Yeah.
Watch Titanic or something. Loads of popcorn.
Sympathetic loser.
Yeah.
But he'd go there in a chopper or something.
Dangerous.
Yeah, just sit in the cinema on my own. Yeah.
Life would be like Grand Theft Auto for a little while, wouldn't it?
But I mean, you could have whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to enjoy it because part of enjoying stuff is
you'd enjoy it a bit.
Right?
You'd enjoy it for a while, but things would get boring fast without people to enjoy it with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is when you put yourself in that scenario, you realise how much you do in life not even necessarily is to share it with other people, but for some sort of thing to do with other people. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's I know this is sort of obvious in a way, but driving a really nice car, that's almost instantly meaningless if you're the only person on the planet, isn't it? Yeah. And it makes you realise in a way how shallow it is.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. I think if I won the lottery, I'd just go and get myself a real nice van. I'm not even interested in sports cars. I'd have a sick van. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Just go driving around in my van. I'd be well happy with that.
Who's that? I was just handing his van.
Yeah. with a bed in the back and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think part of that is
cashmere bed.
Yeah. I think part of that is what I'd do if I was the last person on Earth as well. I'd get myself a sick van and just
bro,
because you can have as much fuel as you want.
Just get loads of oil and fuel.
Just keep going.
I reckon I'd go and find a load of Haynes manuals and stuff and just try and learn stuff. I think you'd have to make it as comfortable as possible. And
you'd have to learn stuff.
You'd have to learn some engineering stuff when things break, and then you'd have to try and find yourself some.
I think I'd have to try and make some sort of long-term database or
database.
No, I'm just trying to think. Say
you're real IT.
Not necessarily
my writings.
Not like a computer. I'm talking about carve it into stone or something mental. Because if you were the last person on Earth, obviously when you die, there's going to be no one. And I would think that but all the other animals are on the Earth and stuff. So if millions of years from now, another sentient creature evolves, or if aliens come. I wouldn't want them to be confused. I'd want them to have an accurate log of everything that has happened. So I'd try and write down the history of the Earth. Do you know what I mean? Because if it was just all on the computer and in books, and they're not probably going to last very long.
That's why I find it so interesting, all the Graham Hancock stuff. Have any of you guys seen that thing on Netflix? Yeah. All of those ancient monuments and everything that are literally so old that we have no clue about them.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's just that was their way of imprinting we were here. Yeah. There's a massive we were here thousands of years ago, and we don't understand it now, but it'd almost be like that. Whoever is coming down, they wouldn't be able to speak English.
I want to make it easy.
The grasp of language and things.
I mean, that's one thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, because I would only be able to write it. Yeah. That's a good point.
And that's why I almost think some of these pictures that are on these ancient monuments. The reason that they are pictures is because it would be symbols. People will more understand.
I remember hearing one. I can't remember who it was that was saying about it, and it was saying about how we use emojis now so often in with our phones, and it's almost like we're gradually going back to hieroglyphics. Do you know what I mean? It sounds really silly to say, but we sort of are. Yeah. It's so easy to convey how you feel through a little picture.
It is. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
It's almost it's easier.
Yeah.
I think especially younger people.
I said to Joe earlier, I'll come and pick you up, man. He was like, yeah, cheers, dude. And I gave him the emoji with the sunglasses and a fist.
It's like, that's what we want.
Yeah.
That's how you instantly know Hen's intentions are like.
Probably sent a gift back to
I think it's like a gift, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you like a good gif.
I like it. Yeah, I like a good gif. I like a good gif.
More about that John Travolta in Pulp Fiction one at the moment. Where he's just like,
nice save, Jay.
just looking around like that. I love that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's one of my favourites.
I like that one. I don't even know what it's from, but you know, with that guy and he's like in the snow and he like turns around and he's like.
Yeah.
I like that one. I do that one quite well. You know, if like anybody puts up anything like good or you really agree with or says something that you're really happy about, you're just like,
yes.
Yeah.
I think I was quite late to the GIF game. I only figured it out like a year ago how to GIF. What does it stand for, by the way? Does anyone know?
It's something image
generated.
Something?
Yeah.
Something? I don't know. I have no idea.
Someone's listening right now going, you idiots.
Yeah.
Do you do this? I do this with this pod sometimes though. Yeah. Like, well, I'm like, it's this, and someone's doing that right now about what a GIF is.
Yeah, man. Let's face it, we all do it right now, Drew. That's one thing actually that was really, I found actually when you started doing the podcast, I don't know why, it's like something about how your mind's more relaxed. Not because I'm nervous about doing it, but there's a lot going on in my brain when I'm talking to people, when I'm quite a scatty guy anyway. But like, say if it's like 10:30 at night and I'm in my kitchen and I'm like listening to a podcast while I'm doing some dishes or something. My mind, it's so sort of at ease and I sort of feel like I'm like ahead of everything that's going on in the podcast almost. And every time, let's say, whether you're listening to Joe Rogan or something and he doesn't know something and it comes to you really easily. But when you actually do the podcast yourself, it's like that doesn't happen. you like really easily forget stuff and like feel on the spot. And
even today, like this little conversation we've had, there's been a couple of moments where I've wanted to say something, but I've just been like, I don't know what you know what I mean. It just doesn't come out properly. I know you've had it a few times listening back to all of your pods so far. I know that you've had the same problem a few times. Where, like you've really wanted to express yourself, but the words just don't come out.
I think that's the thing that I have quite a lot, just generally, you know. So a podcast is a good way to almost like practice doing it because I find it like my community. I think some people are like much more naturally communicative, like or can communicate in a way that's
got better communication skills.
Yeah, there you go. Like
I think it's helped all of us, like in different ways, like me, you, and Bull. I think we didn't obviously, or myself at least. I never thought like, it's probably going to like help me further down the line doing this podcast. But I think it's like probably helped us all like grow in different ways and learn and become more aware. I think it's in a lot of ways. I think especially for Bullwinkle, just because he's so young. I think when you're like 19, you're like a sponge. And I think that you're a mixture in some ways of like you sort of, it's what goes back to what I was saying earlier, you have no concept of mortality. And in some ways, I think you're almost like the cockiest you're ever going to be in your life when you're a teenager.
Yeah, sometimes, maybe, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Certainly not for everyone.
When I listen to the pod, the impression I get from Bullwinkle is that he sits and he really respects you guys. Like he's
that's what
listening.
I mean, like he's absorbing though. That's what I mean. It's like he absorbs a lot.
And the way he looks is that he's like, these guys know stuff. And
do you reckon?
Yeah.
It's funny because I didn't pick up on that necessarily at the time.
I don't know if that's how he feels. He might listen like to this and go, this guy's took an absolute whack. But like from what I hear and what I see, he quite often he does this sort of what I do sometimes where he goes, right, you know, like, and it's almost that sense of wonderment in what people are saying.
Yeah, but by the way, like when I say like, you know, I talk cocky, I don't mean it in a bad way at all. And I think that every, not every teenage lad, but a lot of teenage lads are like it. I was more cocky when I was a teenager than I am.
Your whole life ahead of your world's there is yours.
And I think you think that you know more than you do. Do you know what I mean? But I think, like for Bullwinkle to be as young as he is and you're like a sponge, and I think he's just like absorbing so much at such a rapid rate. You know what I mean? Because I think usually, like most people his age, the jobs you're doing, you're not sort of interacting with people the same way he is with us guys in here. You're only interacting with people your age who are obviously more likely are going to be at your level. So you're sort of like you're trickling up. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like the stuff, where I think Bullwinkle's getting to like our 30-year-old mindset already.
He's also in that sort of generation where probably spent more time talking to people on phones than he has in real life. Yeah. Like I remember going to a show. We were playing. This is like at the Labour Club. Do you remember they used to do killing shows?
Yeah, man. I used to love Labour
Back in the day.
Dude.
I used to love those Labour Club.
It was a good show
gigs,
as well. But I remember inviting one of my ex-girlfriends, and she brought her younger sister, and she must have been like 14 at the time, 15 or whatever, and she'd never really been to a gig before. She loved music, had really cool taste in music, but just had never been to a show. And I just remember her inviting one of her friends, and they literally spent the whole night standing from me to hen away from each other, just texting.
Yeah,
like on their phones like that,
Yeah.
just like, and then filming the band and like not really actually being in the moment. You know, I think,
To be fair to Bullwinkle, I think he's actually very mature for most people his age. I know, somebody in my missus' family who's similar age to Bullwinkle, and she's very much like that. But whenever I'm around him, I almost like can't help but stare at her, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, we're in a social situation right now, and you're like completely tuned out. Yeah. And I can guarantee that whatever you're looking at on your screen, it's nothing like urgent or anything like that. She's probably just scrolling through social media. It's like an inability to just like communicate.
It's like the fastness as well. Like I sometimes I think with Bullwinkle, like it's your life is so fast paced with the information that you're taking when you are on your phone, and everything you're doing, it's about information. Like we're like, it's like we're it's like into that information age where everything is on the computer.
Accessible,
and it's like, but it's like sometimes like learning things at like a slowed down state or something, like where we've grown up and kind of like I don't know, like it takes longer to do stuff sometimes. It just because of the way we had to do it or whatever, and then but it's changed, and I think this like attention span thing, it's losing attention and or like flitting from one thing to the other. Sometimes it's a bit like slow down.
Yeah. Well, look at like TikTok. That's like the most successful app of the last couple of years. It's just
because it's so and it's and
3 seconds.
The way it's going is it's just encouraging that even more and more and more and more. And I get a bit like sketched out by it.
I'm not about that.
Nah, man. And the thing is, it's like weirdly addictive. But I remember
you can feel
hearing
yourself doing it as well. Like, because if I do go on Instagram and stuff, I feel those little dopamine hits when I'm
Reels.
That's it. But apparently, I remember hearing
That's
like,
what it is. It's dopamine.
I remember, I remember hearing that. I watched this podcast with that Dr. Andrew Haberman guy, and he was going into like the science of why people do it and why like people increasingly stay up ridiculously late at night because they can't put up their phones. And they were saying it's because for every high you get in life, you must have a countering low. That's just the way our minds work. So ideally, you sort of want to stay pretty balanced. But like these little dopamine hits you're getting from like reels and stuff, from just like cheap lols essentially, or anything that floats your boat, it's giving you mini dopamine hits. But as a result, your mind naturally wants to resist the crash, the opposite of that, which is you're going to, even if it's just a mini one, it's like, you wouldn't even notice it really. But your mind's resisting that. So that's why you just keep doing it. But you end up doing it for hours.
I've done that. I've been there.
Mate, I think we all have.
Yeah.
And afterwards you think, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like why the hell have I like done this? It's such a waste of your life.
That's one thing I've said to myself this year. Like I actually have a New Year's resolution. That's to just like stop doing that mindless scrolling rubbish and pick up the guitar, man. Honestly. And
I deleted all those apps off my phone. Like Facebook's gone, Instagram's gone, all of the social media's gone.
Fair play, dude.
If I want to look at any of that, I have to physically download the app, look at it, and I'll delete the app.
Or like log in on a computer somewhere like that.
So just like it's a time waster, and actually
it is a time waster.
Nothing you get from it is positive in my opinion.
One thing I was talking to like a guy about last week was I was talking about like how time is like no different than money in terms of like it's an investment.
Yeah,
time is an investment.
100%.
So you need to be very careful. The same way you wouldn't just chuck your money around, well, unless you're an idiot, or like, but like you got to be just as careful with your time as you are with your money. Every minute is an investment. How are you going to choose that to do something that not necessarily, it doesn't always have to benefit you. It could benefit your missus or your kid or a friend of yours, but every single minute, every decision that you make with your time has long-term ramifications. So it's like, how do you want to invest your time? Do you want to invest your time bettering yourself and thinking about the long term, or do you want to go get really wasted or scroll through TikTok?
It's like choosing what's easy over choosing what's hard, but what's hard is going to benefit you so much more. But I'm like I find that so hard to like.
It's hard not to do the easy option. I think most people, especially people that are like really deep into it, it's really hard not to do the easy option, isn't it?
100%, man.
Self-discipline,
It's too easy to sit on the sofa and just like scroll through reels and
or chuck Netflix on.
Yeah, man. That's it.
Go to the McDonald's drive-thru.
I crave those comforts of just being comfortable so much, and I just love just getting in this like bubble of coziness of just watching this amazing,
even like with food
show
and
on
that.
Netflix.
It's like, do you
everything and doobies and
like good meals?
And boobies.
Yeah, man, doobies and boobies. Like good meals usually are going to require like more washing up. It's more faff.
Oh, like
and it's
that
a
goose meal the other night, man. That you cooked, that was so good.
Mate, I had so many dishes to do, but it was a good meal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
Christmas goose.
Callum does a yearly Christmas goose, man, and it is just insane.
I referenced it in
on the Christmas pod.
And on that Flying High This Yule track that we did, that was like a line that was like about a perfectly cooked goose. The reason the reference to it is because last year when we were doing it, Josh Ayers just started like wetting himself laughing. It's just Josh, mine and Josh's sense of humour. We had the goose, and then we went into the living room. We were just like listening to music and stuff on YouTube, and it went up onto my search. And it was like how to cook a perfectly cooked goose, and for some reason Josh just started wetting himself. He just thought it was really funny. I think it was just like his idea of me just like sat at home, really like a sitting old lady, just like trying to like thinking I can't make the most perfect goose ever. Just watching all these videos on it like homework, you know.
I don't think I've ever eaten goose.
Oh man,
a lot of people have told me that
when it's perfectly cooked, it's like.
Perfectly good goose.
On point.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never had a goose.
Oh, we'll have to come round next Christmas.
Man. It's a bit like duck, but just obviously a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Not exactly like duck.
I'd say
similar.
like almost like greasier than duck, but like in a really
fattier,
good way, like fattier, but in a really juicy, succulent way. Rather than
I drained all the fat, and I'm just going to use it as like. You know, that's like my cooking oil until it runs out, and I've got like a fat bowl of it, guys. And it's like I made myself a bacon egg sandwich out of it the other day with goose fat rather than like butter or oil. And best bacon egg sandwiches you could possibly have, honestly. It's amazing. Like anything you cook in goose fat just tastes amazing.
Well, it's like potatoes. They do like duck fat and goose fat, don't they? Potatoes.
Hell yeah.
When you said about bear fat as well, I really want to try bear fat.
Yeah, man. Apparently that's insane. Yeah, they used to make like so much of it back in like the frontier days. In America, they would like
it was like gold. It
was. They'd use it for like everything. Like they'd use it for lamps and like like bars of soap, cooking. Apparently, like as a cooking.
That's
oil,
weird. That fat is like soap. Like I remember that from like Fight Club as well.
Yeah. That's what these. I mean, obviously they don't anymore, but back in the day, it'd be like fat.
Yeah.
But if you'd ever seen like a proper like just like cold stored animal fat, it does look like a bar of soap almost.
It's a block,
doesn't it? Yeah,
like lard. Or, it's like a block, is it?
I have no idea how we got into this conversation.
Something like a Christmas goose.
Man, we're getting deep. We're like fifth dimension pod. Is this over 2 hours or is it?
This is our longest ever pod.
Oh no.
Yeah. This is our.
I'm enjoying it.
This is the longest ever pod.
You know me and Henny gonna listen to it at least.
Yeah. This is the longest ever pod by about an hour.
Really?
Wow. I don't think we've ever done a pod over an hour and a half, and this is coming up 2.5 hours.
We're just shooting it with friends, though, really, aren't we, at this point?
That's it. But that's what I like about pods, man. It's just
it's cool.
Getting the deep conversations.
Yeah, man.
And what about that?
And like you said, I know I'm going to be listening.
Yeah.
And you know you're going to be
listening.
And
that's all that
matters.
There's
2 listeners.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's all that matters.
And the more content, the better, actually.
Are we talking to ourselves in the past, present, and the future right now? Like,
You're like Scrooge, mate, or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Hi, Hen. How's it going?
Mate, when you listen to this back, you're going to be like spun out.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You're doing well, man. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Whoa.
Watch out for that tree, man.
Watch out for the fish tank.
Turn left.
That's crazy about that fish tank, though. I mean, I think, like, when you think about like ways that you might die, you often think of like grandiose things.
That, to be honest, talking about it made me sweat a little bit. I had to take my coat off.
You find it really uncomfortable to talk about, don't you?
A little bit, yeah, because I felt so stupid. Like amongst feeling relieved.
Was it almost like because of, as I said, like you think of like how you might die, and it's like seems like grandiose, but you don't think I'm going to slip on a fish tank and might die.
I was just like I was a train wreck at the time. I was just like hell raising, just like drinking all the rest of it, like going through one of those stages in your life where like it's
self-destructive.
Like, one of them. Exactly.
Man, I was gonna ask you like if what that was like if you had like a big change
like
afterwards,
an epiphany,
because like you hear that quite a lot with like near-death experiences, and where people, it is almost like it's your soul giving you a kick up the butt to like to almost like to like do you want to be doing this like so much, and just kind of
exactly that. It made me think about a lot of things, and I don't know, I stumbled talking about it.
Were you with Becky yet?
No, so we just started like talking a little bit, and like
and then
we hit it off straight away, me and Becky, and then like that happened.
Did you know her a bit from school? Because I remember Becky from school.
Yeah. We've known each other for like forever.
In the periphery.
Yeah, so
you didn't know her like super well.
Yeah, so after that, like I think like that's when we just sort of like went like that, because like
nice.
No time to waste.
No time to waste.
Fall on the fish tank. Get in there. Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy moment.
Puts things into like perspective a bit more than at the time probably not even thinking about certain things, but then something like that happens and it's like, whoa.
I mean, I think I can't remember if we've talked about it, Drew.
I'm sweating
before,
again.
But
it's weird bringing it up. It
is weird, isn't it? How it's almost like, I know it's another cliche thing, but like any day could be your last.
Yeah,
and you could like people could die in like the most weirdest ways. I mean, like, if you think about it, every time you go down the stairs, do you know what I mean? You could trip and break your neck. Do you know what I mean?
I live in a bungalow, so
not Joe.
I've eradicated that.
But the rest of us three, we're screwed. Joe would be alright, but
I'm all good.
Yeah, man.
No stairs.
But it's weird, it's weird to think that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. But you could say that about anything, like
Final Destination.
Yeah. But when you look at Elvis, like one of the most famous people on the planet, died taking a poo.
Yeah. Mama Cass died eating a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, did you hear that?
No.
Yeah. You know the lead, one of the larger lady in the Mamas and Papas, that band. Yeah, she died. She died.
Choked on the
ham.
ham.
She was just eating a ham sandwich at home and just choked on it and died, man. She was like, at the time, I think in the 70s, especially in like sort of the California music scene, she was like one of the biggest musicians on the planet.
Whoa,
that's wild.
Ate a ham sandwich one day. You'd never think this ham sandwich could be the end of me, would you?
No. You probably wouldn't even think twice about eating a ham sandwich. Right?
No. But you just unluckily at the time she was on her own, so no one could give her the Heimlich. Yeah. She just choked to death savagely. Yeah.
It's brutal.
Oh, yeah.
It's like who's the lady who did the song with the Pogues? Christy
Maguire.
McCall, is it? Something like that. But she got nailed she got decapitated, didn't she? That's how she died, like by a jet ski or something like that, like a jet ski accident.
Whoa.
Yeah. Real brutal, man. But then again, like same sort of thing, just was out in the sea having fun, just got nailed by a jet ski.
That's proper Final Destination, that, isn't it? That seems really dramatic.
Yeah, incredibly like brutal.
I remember, like, one of those like cool sort of like movie trivia things, especially like with horror movies. I remember hearing that like there's any of you guys seen like the Omen, the horror movie The Omen?
No.
I have years ago.
Really good. I don't know if you guys are into your horror films, but I'm really into some horror films.
I know. I just don't.
The good ones are good.
I'm not super into them.
That's my cynic.
Yeah, I don't find them scary, but there's something about the macabre. I sort of can get into it.
I get it.
You know?
I get it. I totally get it. But yeah.
But anyway, during the first Omen movie, there's a guy who gets decapitated by like a sheet of like a window pane. There's like the truck crashes and it's got all these like sheets of glass in the back and it like flies off and it decapitates him. And it's one of those sort of like, people say like, did it actually invoke Satan or something? But like that guy within a year actually died in real life in almost like exactly the same way. Whoa, and it's one of those weird coincidences, but it's like people nowadays obviously say it like, they used some actual real satanic like incantations in that. Did they, the God-fearing folk are like, it's a bit of a coincidence.
Like The Exorcist, isn't it? A lot of the cast of that died quite quickly and that sort of thing. Like it's
I think it was the same thing in sort of Egypt. I can't remember what pharaoh it was, whether it was like Ramesses or Tutankhamun or something. But within a year, obviously the tombs of all those pharaohs have got loads of curses on. And it says like if you translate it, it's like all ye that enter will perish and all this stuff. And obviously like the archaeologists were like and I think there were like 4 archaeologists, and I think like within a year they'd all died. One of them had like died in a plane crash. The other one had like I don't know. I can't remember how they all died. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure all of them died.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like let's face it, probably a coincidence. But it's one of those things that it's like seems mental still. You're like, whoa, what are the chances of that, man?
You can find patterns in anything that you look for what you want to look for in everything.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But that's that skeptical mindset, I suppose.
No, I mean, as I said, I think it's good to be a skeptic on the whole. I think as long as you're like not like skeptical for the sake of being skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about it's like Occam's razor, isn't it?
Yeah,
you look for basically the most obvious answer within things that you understand.
Yeah. So and you go through the checklist, don't you? What's the most obvious like answer for this? if there's no way that the most obvious answer could be correct, what's the next? And you just go through that checklist, don't you? What's obviously cool about life is that sometimes there isn't any obvious explanation, and that's where you've just got to sort of be humble as a monkey, isn't it? And just sort of go like, don't know, and nobody knows.
I think that's kind of
pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that's kind of why I like shamanism and like psychedelics and stuff like that, because it's crazy and it's out there, but it's all it's experiential. So like all of these things, like that you couldn't.
Made up a word, man.
I like to know.
It's a good word, mate. Let's rock with it. Experiential. Let's go.
Is that not a word?
I don't think so, man.
Oh well,
it is now. It is now, mate. We all know what you mean, so it's all good.
Yeah, like so it's based on your experience. So no matter if it's real or it's not real, if you experience it, then it feels real to you, and it's like, do you know what I mean? Like that's it. If it can be proved or not.
Well, it's like truth is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
Because there is like magical, crazy things that can happen, or that you can. But that, when you experience them yourself, that's like, whoa, like, the universe is this crazy place where you can have all kinds of experiences,
Yeah. I think most of us have had like a couple of things that in our lives happen that you can't explain. That doesn't necessarily mean it's unexplainable. It just means that we can't explain it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And even like science in general, there's like
something
so much that science hasn't figured out. Maybe we will one day, maybe we won't. But yeah, again, at the end of the day, we're monkeys, really, aren't we? So there's only so much we can know.
It's quite funny, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually hilarious, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't take it too seriously.
No, you can't. That's what it goes back to, isn't it? For money, they can't. There's no point taking life too seriously.
No. Just rotating around a giant ball of gas.
Yeah, you just got to try. At the end of the day, like you just got to try and have a laugh. Try and be good to your mates and your family. Yeah. That's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. That's when you
enjoy the wonders of life. Yeah, food and music, and
when you have a child, you kind of think, like I think long term now, like my goal is to just make them a good human, and then hopefully they'll make someone else a good human. You know, and it might not be their child, it might whatever, but like as long as they are a good human, I've done my bit, and like
that's 100%. That's what I think, man. Yeah,
you know, like I don't really care that. Well, I do obviously. I'd like to live my life, but I don't really care as much about what happens to me.
No, I'm as like.
But in turn, I think that makes you a better person. Like that gift that the child can make you want to be the best person for that other being, and make them the best that they can be. Like that. That's so cool that's just it's something.
And it's not it's not something you plan, is it? It's not something that you think, oh yeah, I can't wait to have kids so I can make them a great person. And but like and
you want to be a good person for them as well.
Yeah, and and you always want to hopefully be a good person anyway. Like
for sure.
There's no slight on anybody else I love and care about. Like I love my wife to bits.
But it's different though, isn't it? It just is different.
Yeah, with your child, it's like it's a totally different kind of love, and it kind of becomes...
They're so innocent. And they're your responsibility. Yeah. You've created that person.
Yeah.
Talking about stuff, quasi supernatural stuff, to me, one of the weirdest, most magical things you can do that almost like spun me out, even though obviously I've known about it all my life. I don't know if either of you guys had this sort of moment, but when I had my own kid, it really almost like spun me out how it even happens.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you like plant a seed in another human,
and they grow a flower.
And
that's what I tell my daughter.
They will they will
plant the seed. Mummy grew the flower.
They will make another human being, a whole human being. That's like some sort of weird fusion between you and that person.
That's nuts.
And that's all the
freaky,
DNA that you carry of your ancestors.
And it's like some weird like fusion between the both of you.
It was a hell of a night,
mate. But like that's spinny, man. That spins me out.
How long was like your labour with is it Evie?
Evie, yeah,
Evie,
man.
Yeah. How long was your labour? Like
it was about 18 hours.
Oh, that's long.
Yeah, man.
Or for like start to finish, like pushing for 18 hours, or start to finish. Yeah, you did some hard work, man. Yeah. I can tell you, I took my hat off to you if I was wearing one.
That's like one of my dad jokes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, especially if my missus is around.
Mine
I'm like, I know what's going to wind her up now.
Yeah. Tell everyone I did all the hard work.
Yeah, man.
No, I was just basically just trying to be a good water boy, as I'm sure you guys were as well. I just basically had like ridiculous amount of sports drinks.
And
I was just like squirting it in her mouth.
I was the same
non-stop.
I was feeding my wife wine gums. She never wants to look at a wine gum ever again.
Yeah.
I was like shoving them in. She was like, stop giving wine gums.
I think she got through like 7 bottles of Gatorade.
Oh, powerhouse.
Wow. Yeah.
Love that.
Going.
How about you? Yours was like, you were in and out for a little while.
It was a weird one for me. Like, it was I spent like 3 nights sleeping on hospital floor next to her bed, thinking he was coming. He could come at any moment. You know?
Mate, that's a long, dragged up process.
And then on the fourth day, she was like, "Just go home, go to your bed, just get a good sleep, and come back tomorrow."
You must have been a bit delirious almost.
I was just like, "All right." So I left and I went to the pub for a few hours.
That's like a bloke thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what would my granddad have done?
Yeah.
Go home, go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went to the pub and I was there all afternoon. I went to bed at about 10. I set my alarm. No, I made sure my phone was on loud. And then at 12 o'clock, her mum rang me and she was like, "He's coming." He was coming. I was like, "Oh God, I'm still shit-faced." So I had to get in the car and boot it over the hills to Musgrave. It was a bit dodgy. But I got there.
Nice one, man.
And then 3 o'clock in the morning on that 4th night of being in hospital, that's when he arrived. Yeah.
I bet Becky was knackered.
It was wild, mate.
4 days.
Everyone always says, "Oh, it's the best moment of your life. It's the best day of your life." I've had way better days than that day, mate. It was horrific. It was brutal. It's intense.
It's really intense.
Did you guys have like a mental adrenaline dump when the child came out?
Hard. And I got sent home by the midwives.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, I'm really bad with like blood and stuff anyway. So like I was on my knees by the time she'd given birth. Like I was just like, I'm gonna pass out. I'm so bad at this. And like the pediatric nurse was the doctor, the pediatrician came in and she was like, "You're all right." And I was like, "You're the baby. Don't worry about me. Do the baby."
Yeah.
And my wife was like, "He's a big wuss, so just just ignore him." And so like my daughter was born.
Ignore him. I love that.
Yeah, essentially. She was quite small. So I freaked out. I'm not like a small guy, you know. I'm not your size, but in terms of height and stature,
tall dude. Yeah.
She was like no bigger than my forearm, you know. And I was holding her in one hand, and I'd never held anything so small and fragile and precious to me.
Sure.
And I freaked out hard.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know what to do.
It is spinny, man.
I've got to bring this human child, raise this tiny thing, and
I had
I'm
the same
scared.
sort of experience.
I was terrified, bro, and I was so tired as well because, like.
I know, jokes aside, obviously not comparing our fatigue at all to the women's.
You don't get watered and fed, you know, like as the bloke.
I realised how dehydrated I was afterwards.
Nobody cares about you, dude.
Yeah, I realised that I hadn't drank or eaten anything since the beginning of the ordeal.
And you're absolutely useless, aren't you?
Yeah, and you feel like a right wazzock even saying this out loud, don't you? Because you think like, and as I said, it's not comparing it at all to anything that the woman goes through, because obviously what they're going through is infinitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like I've heard that like the average like labour is intensive on the body as a marathon.
It's car crash as well. Yeah. So it's like car crash as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
so it's you know whether you're going by the marathon or the car crash, that's very fatiguing.
Both things tire you. Hurt. Yeah.
So but yeah, as you said, like and rightfully so, but no one's thinking about the man at the time, and you're so busy trying to be supportive. As I said, for me, I realised I was super dehydrated, and I had the same moment that you had in almost like that mini freak out. And I'm not like that naturally as a person at all. And I was the one that really the whole time during the pregnancy,
calm.
I was like, it'll be fine.
I'm the same.
Everything's gonna be fine.
I'm the same.
I'm gonna take it as it comes. Like I take everything in life as it comes. And this, regardless of whether I'm in a really bad situation in life or in a good one, I'm just gonna sort of tackle it in the moment and just sort of see what happens and just do the best I can. That's sort of my mindset. But yeah, I had that same sort of freak out that you had, mixed with the dehydration and everything, and it was really hot in the hospital room. But it was it was like March, so, and it was like still pretty cold, you know. So I sort of like was a bit layered up, but just dressed inappropriately for how hot the room was, and I was like sweating and dehydrated, and I had that same sort of freak out. I had a super adrenaline dump. It was like the relief of the child coming out. I felt relief because obviously if you're partner manages to give birth naturally like mine did, and then obviously that's a really good thing, but obviously there's never any guarantees about that, and we were teetering on the brink of, I remember the midwife saying like, if it's not like starting to show soon, then we're going to have to like.
Sounds very similar.
Then because we were at Bridgewater at the time. You're going to have to go to Musgrave.
Yeah, we were at Musgrave in the end. Yeah, we ended up there. Well, I mean, Jerry had preeclampsia, which is like high blood pressure. Right. So she had to give birth there. But that's really dangerous in itself anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was an absolute trooper. But the one thing that freaked me out is she just was dead silent through the whole thing.
Oh, really?
And like when she's quiet, it's bad.
Really?
Because she's a talker.
Right.
My wife, she loves to chat. And she said nothing. I think one of the only things she said to me was, "Stop giving me wine gums." She'd had enough wine gums.
Really ominous.
And she was just like, "Stop giving me wine gums." And I was like, orange juice. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
But like she was. I felt like a spare part in the room, and you probably experienced
you do,
this.
don't you? You feel so helpless.
You are useless. You are absolutely useless. You are there to just
be a water
stand
boy.
around.
You're a water boy and a cheerleader.
But yeah, like holding her in my arm. I say arm because she was that small. You know, it's one arm. She was like £6'4".
Yeah. Pretty tiddly.
Yeah, small, but perfect in every way, as
of course,
you
man.
would know. But like, I just freaked out hard, and I was like, I don't know how I could like raise this human. And the nurses were like, I think it's about time you went home, don't you?
Serious. I love how that's like you just got like almost like dissed up. Yeah. Almost like dissed by the midwife.
Me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think so. So like my wife was just like, yeah, just put her in the incubator or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like the cot thing that they put into the bed.
Yeah.
And she just, bless her heart, she had a terrible night of just being milked all night by midwives or whatever they do. They're like trying to get the baby to suction on. And
sounds like so brutal when you
put it like that. But that's what they do, don't they? Like literally like the first 24 hours is like they're trying to get your human to latch on to your partner and like it's not. I don't imagine it being that massively pleasant experience.
No, it probably feels a bit like being like abducted by aliens or something.
Yeah, she said it kind of felt like the breastfeeding thing felt like really uncomfortable. I hope she doesn't mind me talking about this live. I
feel like I'm on Loose Women.
Yeah, she was just like, the breastfeeding thing is, it's pretty intense, man. Like, it's like, being milked and all that. Did you do any breastfeeding?
No, I'm not.
Yourself? I know
there's a funny story about
that. Whopping great bangers.
I've got a funny story about this actually, going back to the whole. I've got a Bulgarian friend, and he came up to me one day and he was like, "Oh, how's the baby, man?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's good." And he was like, "Is he drinking lots of titty milk?" And I was like, "Nah, he's on the bottle, man." He goes, "Oh, well, you better make sure he doesn't turn out to be gay."
Mate, I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it cracked me up.
Oh man, what a legend that guy is.
I'll always remember that.
What a legend that guy is. Man, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I think that's a pretty good like place to wrap up on the titty milk bit. Just before we go, what's next for Shoot the Moon? Got any gigs lined up?
Not really.
No.
So what are you guys doing at the moment, if anything?
We're in the process of recording a new track that we wrote about the lockdown, didn't we?
Yeah, that's how long it's taken for us to get it out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's called Tier 4. So it's about like the highest phase, and it's really stupid. It's all about like having house parties you're not allowed to have and not being invited to them because you're not allowed to go to them technically, but actually still going anyway, that kind of thing. So there's lots of references to like using Zoom and drinking on your own and being in the middle of the road because there's no cars and that kind of thing. Like
28 days later.
But like in a really stupid Shoot the Moon kind of way.
I like it, man.
It's in my opinion probably the catchiest song we've ever written. It's just got some really good vibe to it. Really good fun.
Sounds awesome, man.
But yeah, we're in the process of getting that onto the sort of recording software and getting it out there and go from there. So that'll be next, and then beyond that,
who knows?
Awesome. We're gonna play some Shoot the Moon tracks.
Nice.
After this to wrap this up on the radio. Mate. For everyone that's listening on the radio, we're gonna play you some Shoot the Moon tracks in a minute.
Nice.
But for everybody that's listening, all these friends of the pod out there that have never heard of Shoot the Moon before, go and check out Shoot the Moon on every format possible. And cheers, Joe and Hen, for coming on the pod. Absolutely legends. We're gonna have to get you back again, guys, because that awesome. Almost 3 hours went by too easy.
I know, it's so easy to talk.
So we'll have to do it again.
Thanks so much for having us.
Cheers, guys.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
boys. Awesome. Love you guys.